stay on the straight and narrow. And someday my people wake up and pray for Pharaoh. Right now we in a state of peril, but I'm praying for rest up in the wilderness and change to a greater peril. I pray for light in the hour of darkness. I'm praying for the day Satan's power is off us, and we increase like sawdust when the carpenter got his shop and the tree is sawed up. Pray when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you help me win every battle that's left. For if I go to the right or move slow to the fight, you remind me what the life of a soldier is like. I pray for my kinfolk and my friends for an awakening. It's been kinda lonely since I've been woke.
Okay, everybody. Alright, welcome to another installment of the Search Engine International. Alright, let me go straight over to the elders. Right quick, let me go to Elder Rakar. Shalom, Elder Rakar, can you hear me?
Shalom, can hear you loud and clear. How are you?
I'm good, man, I'm good. And yourself?
I'm doing good, doing well. Did the show start yet?
Praise the Most High. Yes, sir, we are live right now, broadcasting right now.
Okay, all praise to the Most High. Everyone doing it. Shalom.
Yes,
all right.
We're live. We're waiting for the guests to just confirm what time they'll be available to come in. So
okay.
we just give it a couple of minutes. Elder Gabar is here with us as well. Let me go to Elder Gabar over in New York. One sec.
Hey, shalom, brothers. How we doing today?
Shalom. How you doing, Captain?
Good. Just getting ready. Getting excited for the show tonight, and also getting ready for this debate coming up on Sunday. So I'm trying to reach Sarnetta and also Polite. They said they're going to call in for a few minutes just to recap and just last minute promotion. And but I know that's going to be not most of the show. I know we got a show planned for everybody else. But I'm just working the phones, just making sure these guys call in. So and I think Brother Ironwood's up. He's going to be calling in. Also my sister, my deacon over in New York, one of my deacons, because he's going to be doing the presentation so with me in this debate. So just let me work behind the scenes, and I'll be right back.
All right.
Great.
Man, so that's what we hear, man. Let me hear Elder Rakar in the meantime, and just how's it been? I've not spoken to you in a minute. How are things going on behind the scenes?
Okay, things are going pretty well. First of all, I'd like to say all praise be to the Most High in the name of YASHAYA. Things are going well. We've been off the show for a while, but I guess a little hiatus has done good for all of us to some degree. You understand, getting some time off, and there's really never any time off, but it give us a chance to focus on other things.
Yes.
A lot is going well, of course, through the blessing of the Most High. The Academy is going well. We have the calendars and the site with the news, gatheringofchrist.org. That's going pretty good. The teachings are progressing, and the prophecies are going forward. So, I mean, I'm just so glad that we're back here on the radio, and hopefully we can we can keep this going regularly.
Yes,
but I'm glad to be back. I think going forward, just to accommodate us being 7 hours and some 6 or 7 hours ahead of the United States, I think that we're going to do the show an hour earlier, starting next week to accommodate the time.
Yes.
And that way, that way we won't fall off, because sometimes we can't do the show because of the sleeping schedules being thrown off. But we're going to try to make sure the show is out there 1 hour earlier, because I know our brothers and sisters are really looking forward to this particular show. So we're going to do what we can to keep it on and keep it going stronger. And I find no better reason for us to be on tonight based on the guests we're having here tonight. We can start it with a bang here.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I don't know if you'd like, in the meantime, before the guests come in, if you'd like to take a few calls.
Sure, I'd like to take a few calls, but I wanted to put something out there to let people know what time we're in and what kind of world we're in real quick. I wanted to put this out there. The Bible says in 2 Ezra, the 16th chapter, that victuals will be cheap. so that everyone will think that they're in good case, and everyone is looking at how the petrol or the gas prices have been pretty low lately, especially in the United States, and which has given everyone a false sense of security, really. And they're trying to level off the prices so that they don't, so that the population don't go into a panic and realize that we're really in the final hour as far as a total collapse coming on this earth, especially within the United States. So they propped up the oil cells, or they try to undercut the oil cells a little bit and sell the barrels cheaper to try to price Iran and others out of the market at this time, because China and Russia have now pulled out of the petrodollar. So they did that on purpose. But keep in mind, they can only sustain that for a short amount of time. They're trying to get over a wave right now, but really what we're seeing will lead to a serious crash coming very soon, an economical crash within the United States. So don't get lulled into a false sense of security because you can fill up your tank for a few cents. The other thing I wanted to bring out, also, I'm looking in the news, and you and I were speaking of this right before we came on. And I know it's in the news, and I know it's entertainment. It's a distraction, but we're looking at what's going on with, what's her name, Bobby Brown's daughter, and Whitney Houston's daughter, Bobby Christina Brown.
Yes. And
how they're looking to probably do something to her very soon, because they're looking to go after the sole heir of Whitney Houston's estate. And that's what a lot of brothers and sisters don't realize, that we're in this whole Masonic satanic, what they call online the Illuminati way, is once you are in this system, especially on that level, being one of the highest producing musicians to ever live on earth, you sign your name in blood. And it's not as if her money, Whitney Houston's money in her estate, because she's worth more dead than alive, with her estate and the things that the publishers can do with her estate, is worth billions upon billions. They have a plan with Whitney Houston's estate. So they can't let something like her daughter get in the way, or family get in the way. It's bigger than family to them. And what's going on with Bobby Christie right now? She's in a medically induced coma, and that means she's not really in a coma. They put her down through medicine. That's what they do before. They usually euthanize a person. And I don't know if any of you you can actually look this up, because I've been looking into this. The night before Whitney Houston died, there was a scare, a bathtub scare for her daughter the night before, Bobby Christie. And she was rushed to the hospital, almost drowning in the tub the night before Whitney Houston was killed. So as you can see, now there's another bathtub incident after, almost a year or so as an anniversary, or a few years after the anniversary of Whitney being killed. So they're going after her estate, and that's the world we're in. It's satanic, and usually those that sign and become big, they sign their name in blood. They belong to the God of this world. So I wanted to put that out there, and I know everyone is looking at that, but I mean, I'm praying for the sister. I hope the sister pulled through, but I understand how these things work, and they're going after her estate. They're going after Whitney Houston's estate. And, I just want to reach out to a lot of brothers and sisters out there to see what's going on in the world. And before our guests come on, we're supposed to have a few guests on tonight. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but we're supposed to have some guests on tonight. I think Brother Polite and Sonetta, who is looking to set up the debate between Elder Gabar and Polite this coming weekend. going to come on to say a few words. And of course, we lined up just a few questions, not to get in the way of the debate, but just general questions that a lot of you out there would probably need to know concerning what they call it, the black consciousness side of things, and give them an opportunity to say a few things on the black consciousness movement and its foundation, and to substantiate some information as far as history goes. Of course, we're not going to have no discussion or no Bible debate. That will actually happen when Elder Gabar deal with this situation in a few days. And of course, we'll have Elder Gabar. He'll give us a window into into what we can look forward to in a few days concerning this debate, and that's been well talked about and publicized. So what you were saying, Degadra?
1 second, hello. What's that? Let me get back over here.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Now, I mean, a couple of things that you touched on regarding the prophet, regarding even the end time prophecies relating to 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, and we see the petrol dollar going down at a drastic rate, and what people need to also look at is that in 2008 a very similar phenomenon happened, and shortly after that it was the so-called financial collapse of Wall Street, if you remember, in 2008, going into the Barack Obama administration. It was about the time of the election time.
Yes.
And then now we see the same thing coming back around again. So what's really in store right now? In Britain, and for a lot of people who don't know this, in Britain they were actually practicing on a few streets cashless society, where for that entire day they went without spending money.
You mean without cash? Without cash,
yes, without spending cash.
Yes.
Without spending cash. Sorry, excuse me. But using cards for that day, and they putting all of these little systems in place. Now, looking back again in America, and what I've been seeing on the news and all that, and you see the police being militarized, and a lot of armed gear coming into the police force, and what we see going on, what we're seeing that them allowing to happen on social media, being that every day right now you'll see a new video being posted on social media of a police officer either killing or assaulting a black man, and I say it like that because I personally believe that a lot of it is smoke and mirrors, and a lot of it is to provoke the people into some sort of action.
Exactly.
So when I see a lot of the videos come up, I take it with a pinch of salt. Like, okay, if that's real,
they're actually inciting and fueling.
Yes,
they're fueling the sentiments amongst the civilians. They want the civilians, especially our people, the so-called minorities, to rise up.
Yes,
so they can use that as a pretext to bring in their next order, to really put their foot down on us.
Yes,
they're provoking us,
and that's what we see going on right now. And when you look, and the point I was making with this is that people with money, people who have money can move, can that access to move out of a certain scenario, seeing it coming. I was looking at some statistics, Elder Rakai, the other day, right? Just off Google. And I was looking at this based on the prophecies within Jeremiah the 50th chapter, and Jeremiah 50 and 51, where it tells you that they would return to their own country, right?
Yes.
And you would be surprised the amount of people you see migrating out of America. The numbers are high. The numbers have actually gone up, and what's the tax company in America called? The the ones who chase
The IRS.
The IRS,
The
has been keeping note of it. A lot of people are coming out of America, and what they're saying is that they're doing it based on avoiding taxes, the money laws. And there are countries right now in Europe and other parts of the world that will not give you a bank account if you are an American citizen.
I'm seeing that now. The laws have changed on the books where countries now have to report any United States citizen that's opening up an account within their country.
Yes.
I mean, those laws weren't on the books before. But now, after the bailout and all that happened,
yes,
they have new international laws in which America want to know exactly what their citizens who are opening up accounts outside of America. So some people might ask why. And that leads us to what we've been speaking about for years. You understand that, like you claimed, like you said, the Bible show us that many people will begin to leave outside of America after taking its wealth and go back to their own respective countries. That's what's going on.
Yes.
And that's what's going on. And it's really the calm before the storm concerning what the real plans they have in store for Americans. And we're going to discuss that in further detail going down the line. But the real plans they have are brutal for the so-called American citizens. This is just the first stage before they come all out against us. Yes. You understand? They put their mechanism in place. This is just the first step. You understand? And I'm keeping a keen eye on this, and I'm checking out how America have hired thousands upon thousands IRS agents. For what reason? For what reason? And because they know that in order to balance the economy, they can't just use the petrodollar. It's also human commodities, which is sold on the stock market. When you work for a corporation, when you sign those papers to go to work, they make money off of us. It's slave labor on steroids, the way they have set up the system. So no one has really been set free. They've found a way to enslave all of the citizens within the United States and the Western world by now being able to sell human stock. But if you're not working, if you're looking to pull your money out of the corporate world and build your own, then now you're actually pulling down the country economically also. So they keep an eye on that. Their slaves the slaves are looking to walk off the plantation, and they're not having none of it. So the final stage is to stop people from traveling altogether and force them into a prison complex where all people, especially minorities, are controlled through socialization, along with being incarcerated altogether through fusion centers and work there.
Yes.
America is about to lose so many human commodities with our people looking to travel outside the country, and now they can't track our status. They can't make money from us. You understand? So that's another big issue. And believe me, they're doing something about it. They're not going to do something about it. They are doing something about it. And they're making it where, okay, since we have an electronic system in place, the first thing that one would do leaving to another country is to set up a bank account. Now they made it starting, at the end of last year, that you have to, any country with an American citizen must now report any bank account set up by an American citizen, because they want to make sure that money's taxed also.
Yes, yes.
So
yes, and as a result, and that's why I said like the people them who gonna the can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the people them who gonna suffer the most when this is rolled out is the poor.
Yes.
The poor gonna feel the big brunt of this, because the poor, I don't want to say it like the poor don't know what's going on. You with me? You know, the ones with the money.
Point about it. It's not that everything is aimed towards the poor, which it is really, but the whole deal is it's the lack of knowledge and what to do in times like this that our people have never. Our people don't have access to information to be able to plan beyond this. So that's why it's going to affect the poor, because there's no preparation for what's about to happen.
Yes, exactly.
And if they knew exactly what would happen, what was going on, they would plan accordingly.
Yes.
Shapat should join me here. But yeah, they would actually plan accordingly. But we will get caught up in it, the majority of us. Mm-hmm. And this is one of these scenarios in which I'm going to say right now, we don't want to look back at this and say we were right. It's not even about being right. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's really about the Most High showing forth His prophecy. And once everyone see it come to pass, these prophecies, like it was prophesied, like you on the streets and like I'm on the streets and others who was on the street say it for years, that's a beacon for our brothers and sisters at that time to begin to come back to the Most High, repent, and begin to follow suit. So that's what this is all about. This is not about us. It's not about us being right. I want to put that out there. Yeah, we were just speaking about the economics and the new plans America has with Americans' bank accounts. If you go outside the country, how they're restricting people from being able to set up bank accounts. So
a number of years.
Yeah, so why would they do that now when there's so many people before us, before we got this information of leaving and traveling, so many people becoming expats, retiring, going into other countries. It was never an issue until our people started traveling outside of America and outside of our restrictions. Now it's becoming an issue now.
Well, the key word is control. It's similar to when supposedly they let slavery go.
Yeah.
And you needed a license to be married.
Exactly.
So it's along the same line.
Exactly.
They know people.
They're not really trying to free the slaves. This is really not a free society.
Exactly.
As these people have promoted, as this world promoted, or the politicians promote as a free society. It's not free at all. If it's free, then I should have the autonomy to get up and go any place I want without being suspect, without being suspected as some type of criminal or something. They're making it criminal to travel. But go ahead, Gadget.
Check this out, Elder. Right? What we see happening now with a lot of people, because of what's coming on now, is a lot of people are renouncing the U.S. citizenship. Okay?
Yeah.
They're renouncing it. They don't want nothing to do with it. So my thing is, this is wait. A lot of our people have never been anywhere but the plantation. Are you gonna renounce your citizenship now? Being that all this coming down, what are you looking to do? Those of you who can make moves, who can come out of the countries, because right now in Europe, Switzerland, Belgium, all of these countries are refusing to give bank accounts to American citizens.
Excuse me, guys. Brother Gadget, this is Brother Gabar. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Brother Gabar, loud and clear.
Okay, we have Brother Shaka Utmost. He's actually called in. Brother Polite and Brother Sanetta, they're actually working behind the scenes. There's some last-minute situation that happened with the event. As you know, these things happen. So Brother Shaka, last minute, to his credit, he decided, he stepped up to the plate. He's going to come in real quick when you guys are ready.
Okay.
Okay. Well, without any further ado, just real quick, just give us about 2 minutes. I'll need you to round up your point real quick, Gaj, and we'll go right into it.
Okay. All right, no problem.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying we see banks in Europe right now refusing to open accounts for U.S. citizens. They just point blank don't want to do it. So as a result, you find people renouncing the citizenship. So I'm looking at it and saying, okay, what's gonna happen now? What are the the poor or the people who don't have a country, so to speak, to be an expat of? What are they gonna do? You understand me? Like, what's the plan there? I'm watching it. You understand?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much. Sorry, go ahead.
So here's the question, real quick. Us living in an international market right now, where even commerce, your business, everything is global right now. Mm-hmm. Why is it at this time, when everything is going global, they looking to restrict American citizens from being able to operate outside of the United States? What's coming down the pipeline? What is it can we look forward to based on this? And I'm going to tell you, this is a non-conversation for American citizens, because Americans have been programmed, and we've been programmed. I'm going to include myself in it because I was born there. We've been programmed to believe America is all that exists. So this is really a non-issue to Americans, but lo and behold, believe me, this is going to become a nightmare for Americans to not have any access or choices outside of the hell that's coming down on that country very soon by those that run it. Mm-hmm. You understand? It's like they're heating up the melting pot on purpose, a keg that's going to blow, and on top of that, they're going to restrict people from actually being able to get out of the pot. Mm-hmm. You understand? So, we're going to have a show very soon that's going to discuss options based on not just speaking of options of places to go and all that, but options, I would say mentally, on how to deal with these things, and spiritually on how to deal with these things when they come, so that our minds are straight and we're not caught up within a panic when this thing go down, because it's coming down the pipeline very soon. It's coming. So, but there's a reason they are restricting Americans first. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about that, why they restricting Americans. There's an awakening going on amongst our people all over the earth, but there's something very special happening within America itself. You have to realize America is the modern-day Rome. You have to realize the whole world is looking to America for direction, and lo and behold, the enlightened ones, God's chosen, are there, and our people have an influence outside of America unparalleled. You'll never know our influence and how much impact we could have living in America itself. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go into that in future shows going forward. Coming out of Babylon and why they're looking to restrict us from coming out of Babylon. So, but we have the guest waiting, and he's patiently waiting, so we might as well just roll right into it.
Okay.
Let me bring him the brother real quick.
All right.
And Shalom, Brother Shapat. How you doing?
Shalom, Elder Gotcha. I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay, brother Shaka Atmos, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How we doing, brother? How's everything?
Too blessed to be stressed, too grateful to be hateful, too humble to crumble, stumble, or fumble.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling the last minute. Brothers Polite and Sanetta, they would plan to come, but they had some last minute situations. So I know we called you in the last minute. So thank you for coming up and stepping up to the to the radio show. We're trying to get an international demographic. We have a large population overseas. So that's the reason why we wanted to have the brothers just kind of promote the event. Elder Ricard Shiar, he's my elder. He's actually the brother that we were negotiating when we first met. To maybe do something in England.
Right, I remember when you brought him up.
Right, I remember. So so he's and also Brother Gaja, he's the host of the show. So without further ado, Brother Elder Ricard, I know you just want to have some questions, or you want to dialect and things of that nature. Elder Ricard, the floor is yours.
Okay, how you doing, brother? Shaka Amos, right?
Yes, that is my name, Hotep, my brother. And your name is?
My name is YASHAYA. You can just call me Rakal for short. How are you?
Oh, I like YASHAYA. That's a very nice sounding name, YASHAYA.
Thank you, sir. And I've seen you, very talented brother. I've actually seen your music videos. Very talented brother. We thank you for coming on.
And thank you very much for the compliment and for the sentiment. I have to tell you something. I always get a little freaked out when Hebrew Israelites drop by my music channels and they leave very kind and respectful, nice comments. It always trips me out because, you hear all of the rumors about how there's all this hatred and all of this animosity, but I wish I could show people my fan mail and show them just how friendly and how embracing the Hebrew Israelite community actually is. It's not like they require you to believe everything that they believe. It is a very respectful bunch of people, and I just wanted to say that.
Brother, listen, brother, I really appreciate you, and I'm going to say this. All of us got more in common than one would think, and that's why I wanted this conversation tonight to actually be on things we can agree on, and not. I know you don't believe in the Bible, so I don't even want to discuss that with you today. You understand?
Awesome.
Really, what I wanted to talk about, all right, because and believe me, we have more in common than you think. Because one thing I know, even me being a Hebrew, me being Israelite, we Israelites here, and of course tonight we have others. We have people from the Black Consciousness Movement and others. And people are listening to this show from all over the world right now. Every demographic, from Asia to Australia to the UK, all around the world, the Netherlands. We have people from all different demographics. And I want to say this, brother. One big error we make as a people is we look for points of argument. And I think that it's time for us to break that barrier, to overcome that, step over it, and say, okay, what do we have in common? Now, I look at the Egyptians and great civilization, and me being a Hebrew, I can't disrespect the Egyptian history because I believe my forefathers became a nation in Egypt. Yeah. So it all leads back to where we became a nation. And we can agree, you following Egyptology and us following a time in which our people were there. Right. But so we're going to begin there. But what we did was, outside of saying, okay, what is your discrepancy with the Bible? We're not going to go there. Elder Gabar is going to deal with those things. Right. And he'll deal with those things at the debate. What I would like to ask you is some historical things so that we can come on one accord. Sure. So that okay. And one thing I've studied with Polite and others is that outside of the Bible, sometimes they say step outside of the Bible. Okay, let's get out of the Bible for a moment and let's just deal with what can be proven. Let's deal with some archaeology. Let's deal with some history. Let's deal with something that we can sink our teeth into and all believe and come on one accord with that. So
that's my favorite. That's my favorite. That's my favorite subject matter, the archaeology. Absolutely.
Okay, great. So we're prepping some questions for you, and I'm going to allow you to answer these any way you want, and the audience can hear it. And I just want you, the first question we have preference for you, and this can get us on one accord because, this is so that we as Hebrews can also have a foundation.
Yes.
A fundamental foundation with you all. One thing we have seen, just strictly off history, right?
Yes.
Is that there's been great civilizations in the past. Egyptians, from the Egyptian Empire, the Grecian Empire, the Roman Empire, leading to modern day America. Okay.
Yes.
What we wanted to ask you was, and just outside of opinion, just a source. Okay. Do you have, just what source did you ever run into, or you might have in the Black consciousness faith that foretold some of these civilizations, that past civilizations? Is there a source that foretold the rise and fall of the Egyptian Empire, the Grecian Empire, the Roman Empire, and even America? And what's next according to that source? Like, is there a fundamental source you all go to say, okay, this source says that?
I think I get the
let me tell you why I'm asking you this.
Okay.
We have some circumstantial history outside of the Bible that shows that our people served in all these different empires. Whether you want to, we call them Hebrews, you may call them something else, but black people, there's history of us serving in Greece, serving in Rome. We served in Greece as a Hellenist. We served under the Roman Empire. There's history of the Romans destroying the blacks that were in those regions and us fleeing into certain areas, historically outside the Bible. And we wanted to know, was there any source, a fundamental source that you looked into from Egypt that also that actually foretold some of these things that happened to our people?
Okay, I understand the question.
Yes.
I think I also understand the unspoken premise behind the question. I could be presuming, but I'm pretty comfortable with my own presumptions. So I will begin by saying this, and that is, I think that it may be a mistake for us as a people to presume that those things that we believe to be prophecy are in fact prophecy. And the reason that I say that is because if a person is historically illiterate and epigraphically illiterate, they do not have the tools to discern between that which is an authentic prophecy and that which appears to be a prophecy as a result of literary devices. And the reason that I say that is because, and it's unfortunate, it's virtually impossible for us to have this discussion without referencing the text and the civilizations at the heart of this entire affair that brought us all together in the first place, which is the Bible and in association with it in Egypt as well, so, or Africa in general. So what I would say is that if a person reading the Bible has been pointed to various quote unquote, and I have to put them in quotes, if they're pointed to quote unquote prophecies within the Bible, then at face value, yes, they're going to believe that this text is foretelling something and these things have come to pass. The reality of it is that a person who is well versed in the actual historical reality on the ground of the nature of the literature, when it was written, how it was written, why it was written, understands full well that there are no prophecies present in that particular literature, what you would call the biblical narrative. None of them are prophecies, because the archaeology, and this goes back to what you infused into the dialogue at the very beginning. I want to say your name, Rikiash. Am I saying it correct?
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
I'm trying to say your name correctly.
Yeah, Rakar, you got it. Rakashiyar.
Okay, Rakashiyar. Right. So, yeah. Brother Rakashiyar, what I'm saying is that the fact that we know when the text was written, we know that those things that were written about that appear to be prophecy, we know that the text was actually written long after those things had already occurred, at least in some form or fashion. And if they didn't occur directly to the people who were writing about them, we know that they had contact with civilizations that had similar things happen to them. So, from my perspective, there really is no prophecy in any of the literature, be it Israelite, be it Egyptian. I mean, not any prophecy of any value to at least myself, or any of great value to our people at large. So that would be my general answer. I don't know of any prophecy in any other literature, including Egyptian literature, that foretold or foretells of things to come. The only foretelling that took place in Egyptian text and literature was actually what I consider to be the greatest prophecy of all, which is calendrical prophecy. Without the Egyptian text, we would not been able to forecast where the sun would be, say, 4,000 years from now, or 5,000 years from now, because they came up with what we know of as the precession of the equinoxes, which enabled them to have a 25,000-year calendar. So it's these calendars and these calendrical sciences that enabled the rest of the world to tell time and to even tell stories about time. Without the ancient Egyptian text, there would be no such thing as an hour or a day or a month or a year, because these things are all arbitrary ideas, but they have their beginnings in ancient Egypt. And anyone that is not aware of that, I would really refer them to Archaeology 101 and also to the epigraphic sciences. So that's my perspective on the archaeology, on the prophecy. It's not something that I invest great value in, nor would I recommend anyone else invest great value in it.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Eloquently answered. Let's roll them down. I know Sanetta is on, but before you come on, since you're answering the questions so far, and we probably pose a few for him, let me ask you this one. Let me get your name again. Excuse me, Shaka Amos. I know it. Shaka Amos.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. All right. Okay. The next one, because I'm sure the questions I'm asking you, a lot of our listeners would like to hear this. So I wanted to get straight to the point, and just so we can have a perspective without debating the Bible. All right. So that so that those that are listening can at least understand what the perspective that you are coming from, and to see if there's anything that we can begin to understand together historically.
Sure.
Because you have to realize, brother, to some degree, we do have a way of learning.
Yes.
That's fruitful. So if there's a way in which we can learn from each other, and me not go and we as a whole not go away from our fundamental principles that keeps us grounded on what we believe is true, then we'll do that. Let me ask you. You understand? Let me ask you this.
Sure.
We know there's people outside of black people. There's Asian people. There's Arabic people. There's there's Persian people.
Yes.
There's white people. There's people outside of us.
Sure.
If one were to ask you, who are the nations outside of black people, and their origin, and how did they divide into nations and to develop their own cultures and look different than us? What source would you draw from to say how the nations divided and developed civilization and became different? Because we all know that we all come from, all of life come from the black man. We can all agree. Okay? Yes. Whether we call them the biblical... Yeah. So let's not even put the biblical name out there. Let's just say that we all can agree that all nations come from black people.
Yes, so we agree on that. Absolutely.
Exactly. So since we can agree to that, I'm going to ask you, from what source or what information do you have to tell us how the nations divided and how they became separate races? What source do you have, and what do you draw from to resolve the different nations in this earth outside of black people?
Okay, I'm going to pull up something for you right now.
Okay.
And I'll read from it. This is a passage that I'm going to read to you from a completely anthropological text. And first, I'll give you the name of the source. I'll give you the chapter, the page number, as well as, one second. I'll give you the, would you give me 1 second? Hold on 1 second. I'm just pulling something up.
Take your time. Okay, and I know that all praise be to the Most High. I know Sanetta and Brother Polite have entered the conversation, but we're going to give this brother a chance first, and then we're going to just talk about a few things leading up to the debate in a few days. But let's give the brother an opportunity to pull up his source, because it's great that we have this opportunity, because maybe there's some information out there that our people haven't readily examined. So it's good to give others an opportunity to say, okay, if one would say the Bible is not correct, okay, let's see what the sources are.
Hello,
with the information out there.
Hello,
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm here. I'm sorry. I was getting. Oh, right. Say it one more time. It's a little difficult for me to say it.
It's difficult for you to say the source?
No, it's difficult for me to say. I'm trying to remember your name. Ricciardi.
Okay, I'm going to make it easy for you. Ricard.
Okay. Ricard. Okay, that I can remember.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
I can remember that. Okay, so anyway, the source is here. I actually had the source. It's just that my phone was ringing, and I just wanted to let the person know that I was unable to speak with them. So in any event, I had the source from the very beginning, actually. So I'm going to, the name of the book is called Civilization or Barbarism and Technology. And I'm going to quote from chapter 1, page 13, 15, and 16, paragraph 2 and 1. And basically what I did was I condensed it all in to just make it one short paragraph so that I wouldn't have to read so much for you to get the answer to your question. So one of the things that I try to do is I try to rely more heavily on the science because my value system is a knowledge-based value system. It's not really a belief-based value system, so I try to acquaint myself with the facts and the evidence. And this is what the book Civilization of Barbarism says. It was originally published in French as Civilisation ou Barbarie, and the person who did the translation from the French to the English is actually a very dear family friend of mine. So it's written by Sheikh Anta Diop, and my sister's godfather, Dr. Leonard Jeffries out of City College, New York, he actually wrote the foreword for the book. So actually he wrote the synopsis on the rear cover of the book. So here we go. This is the quote. What you're asking me basically comes down to racial differentiation. And that would, just to use the biblical text as a reference, that would kind of parallel what many people call the Table of Nations in Genesis, in the biblical text. But here we're going to read about it from an anthropological perspective. So the quote goes like this, or says thus: racial differentiation took place in Europe, probably in southern France and in Spain, at the end of the last worm glaciation between 40,000 and 20,000 years ago. We understand now, because of the above-cited facts, why the first inhabitant of Europe was the Grimaldi black man, who was responsible for the first lithical industry of the European Upper Paleolithic period, or Aurignacism industry. The Grimaldi Negroids have left their numerous traces all over Europe and Asia, from the Iberian Peninsula to Lake Baikal in Siberia, passing through France, Austria, the Crimea, the basin of Don, etc. In these last two regions, the late scholar Mikhail Gerasimov, a scholar of rare objectivity, identified the Negroid type from skulls found in the Middle Mousterian period. Marcelin Biol and Henry Victor Valois insist on the fact that the localizing layers of the Grimaldians are always in direct contact with those of the Mousterian period, in which the last Grimaldi Negroid in Europe or in Asia. If one bases one judgment on morphology, the first white appeared only 20,000 years ago, the Cro-Magnon man. He is probably the result of a mutation from the Grimaldi Negroid due to an existence of 20,000 years in the excessively cold climate of Europe at the end of the last glaciation. That is the entire paragraph. And I read that because when I'm standing in front of a high school classroom or even a college classroom and I'm attempting to explain to people how different races appeared on the planet, I understand I have to speak to them in scientific terms, because we all understand scientific terms when they affect us on very basic levels. Even if you're just talking about the science of economics, we all understand what it means to be in the red as opposed to being in the black financially. We all understand what the term fiscal means. So these are basic scientific terms that we can all relate to. And so I try to explain it to them in those terms. Where you get the different nations from, if you will, to make it even more local and to be more specific, nations are not always going to come about for the same reason. And I think we have to be fair to history to understand that. And the reason that I say that is because we can look at what might be considered a monolithic nation, like, say, maybe, very few of them are left in the world today. You'll find most monolithic nations today pretty much in Asia. So if you go to, let's just say, Canton, China, right? Everybody in Canton, China is going to be Chinese, Asian. They're going to have the epicantic fold around the eyes, so forth and so on. However, within those nations that are monolithic, they're not always completely monolithic. I'll give you an example. In China, if you go to Chinatown today, or you go to New York, where I live, right? In New York, and probably the same thing in the UK, you'll see Chinese people that are very dark. They have color, right? And you can see that they are what they call ethnic Chinese. But then you see the other Chinese people who move in the upper echelons. Usually they speak Mandarin, and they look virtually white, except for their epicantic fold. So it's the same thing. Even when you go into nations that are semi-monolithic or quasi-monolithic, and sometimes they're heterogeneous. If you go to the Caribbean, and let's use the Dominican Republic, because I know they fit somewhere on the quote-unquote so-called 12-tribe chart. When you go into these so-called nations, right, what is their nationality based on? Is it based on race? Is it based on a continent? Is it based on a country? So it all depends how these things are going to be defined, and they're going to be defined differently by everyone. So what I usually tell most people, you'll get a better answer on the more based on how refined your question is. So if somebody asks me about black nationalism, right, you're talking about creating a nation based on the color of skin, being black, which means now we have a shared identity based upon race alone. And within the context of race, we see ourselves as a nation. Now, if we do that, our numbers are exponentially large, huge. But if you do it on purely religious terms, if you do it purely on cultural terms, then your numbers are going to begin to dwindle. So again, always going to come back to how we frame the question and in what parameters we push the question forward. So I would leave you with that, because I'm not one of these people who believe that every question asked has to have a neat, tidy answer. It all depends on how neat and tidy the question was asked. You know, and the question that you posed to myself was a rather general one. You know, where do nations come from? Well, it all depends on how this nation defined itself from the very beginning. Because some people might not even see it as a nation, you know, because of their own definition of a nation. So I hope that was somehow a valuable answer to your question. At least food for thought for those listening.
Okay, thank you. But before we go on, I need you to stay on, because I know Brother Polite is on. I'm going to ask him a few questions, but just to follow up on this so that we can get some clarity, all right? Outside the civilization of barbarism, I actually know about that source also. Outside that source, being that you're pulling from an Egyptologist vantage point, even before this information was compiled scientifically, whatever the case is, Egypt was a nation, and these things evolved before the Egyptian time. So what I'm going to ask you is, outside of this source, is there something in Egyptian history, being that that's where your expertise is there anything in Egyptian history that we can chronologize or go to and say, okay, this gives us a fragment of nations and civilizations during the same time of the Egyptians, and this is how these nations came to be? Is there anything that you can pull from the Egyptian sources, is what I was asking. Maybe I apologize if I wasn't clear. I wasn't asking for a modern-day scientific explanation with probably, because it had probably within the terms of its explanation, which is vague in itself. Maybe there's something I need to understand from the Egyptian side of things that can be proven archaeologically or whatever the case is. Is there an Egyptian explanation for it? Maybe that's a better question.
Well, I would, if I think I understand your question, I would refer you to a temple. It's called the Egyptian Table of Nations, and in fact, I'm pulling it up right now as we speak. So here it is. I'm looking at the Egyptian Table of Nations, and here we go. I'm looking at it right here. I'm wondering if I'll be able to read it. I should be able to once it pops up. Here we go. There's this painting. I'm just reading from it. This painting from the tomb of Ramesses at 1200 BC shows that the Egyptians, number one, saw themselves as blacks and painted themselves as such without possible confusion with the Indo-Europeans, Caucasoids, or the Semites. Now, as of note, from this, you asked me from the Egyptian source. Actually, you know what? I want to quote something even better that I think you'll appreciate, because I think that it will speak more to what you asked of me. I'm going to go to the Hymn of Aten. The Hymn of Aten, which was written by Pharaoh Akhenaten in the 18th dynasty. And in it, he makes a reference that shows that they were conscious of the concept of nations, or of different peoples, different human beings that didn't necessarily look alike. Okay, so I'm not sure if that's what you're asking me for, because to some degree the question that you posed to me is still relatively vague, because you're saying that you want to know from an Egyptian perspective what their concept of nation is, or what criteria they would have used to determine nation. Am I correct?
No, sir. What I was asking, just in a nutshell, and it's okay if you don't have it right now. We can probably touch on this later, because there's a few other things I wanted to touch on. But I just wanted to know in Egyptian history, is there a history that says, okay, here's the original man, and this is how nations fragmented from this original man, and this is why we have nations today. Whether or not that was chronologized in Egyptian history.
Oh, okay. I think I understand. I understand what you're saying. Okay, I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I personally cannot think of any text off the top of my head that would do that. Now, that does not imply or insinuate that it does not exist. It only means that because I haven't done that particular specific research, because it has not been an area of interest for myself, I cannot say that it doesn't exist. I can only say that I'm not aware of a text that would say, there is a text that says that this is where humanity comes from, if you want to talk about that. But if you want to say, do they have a text that says the black man is the original man, and from him come all other nations? The closest one I could think of would be the Aeneid, when they speak about the birth of the gods, and it comes down eventually to the Aeneid, speaking of Osiris, Isis, all of the siblings of God, Osiris, Isis, Nebhet, Set, and so on, so forth and so on. All of these different deities, and then they say their children are many in this land. That's the closest that I can think of coming to it. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why that's important. That's important, at least from my perspective, because you have to remember that at the time when many of ancient Egypt's texts were being put down and being written, there really weren't many other nations in the world. Particularly outside of Africa. The rest of the world outside of Africa was very much in an infant period, and so there really would not have been any need for. That's what made ancient Egypt so special. It was so insulated. In many respects, it was so insulated. So much of what you're going to find in their literature, even from the earliest period, is going to reference them and pretty much them alone. So you just have to understand it within the geographical barriers in which it was written. And that's from my very limited perspective on that particular subject matter.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
At least you give us a perspective on, okay, this is where we can go and understand certain things on the same par. and maybe there's other areas we need to look on the outside of Egypt to actually come to certain conclusions, fundamental conclusions that lead to nations today. That's fine. Right. I need you to hold tight. Don't go nowhere. Where's Brother Polite? You Polite? You on air with us? Where are you?
Right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, bless you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Oh, okay, good to hear from you, and it's great the work you're doing. Just to fall right in, maybe I could, if you don't mind, because I was just mentioning, if you didn't hear the beginning of this, instead of just going into the Bible and debating the Bible, we just had a few questions we preferenced just to get some understanding from our perspective to understand what you all deal with. So we have a few questions. You don't mind answering a few questions, do you, before we promote this thing, do you?
I have no problems, brother. It's the we don't tell people don't ask us questions.
Okay, great. We have a question for you. First of all, because we do have Brother Shaka Atmos on. Is it the same school of thought or a different school of thought, or are you an Egyptologist, or is it something different, so that brothers and sisters can understand if there's a difference?
I'm a subscriber of Nile Valley Civilization, just like my brother is. We make subscriptions to Nile Valley Consciousness via Nile Valley Civilization.
Okay.
Which, and when I say that encompasses more than just Kemet.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm just asking, you both are from the same train of thought, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's important. Let me ask you this, sir. Just prefacing the next question. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Polite, and I'll be polite with it.
No doubt. Let's get it.
All right. Who are the blacks that came from the diaspora off of the slave ships? Listen, what is their origin? And where can we get the source that explains our current condition? Or, matter of fact, let's do this. Based on your understanding, who are the black people that came on slave ships? Who are they?
I would say that these black people that came off the slave ships, a great deal of them will be who we identify as West Africans. But in general, these people that came off the slave ships were indigenous to the continent of Africa. First enslaved by Muslims, then in the latter stages of slavery, sold to the Europeans who had a better conception of how to monetize Negroids through the course of slavery.
Okay. Well, maybe I need to clear up my question to make it a little clearer for you.
Why not?
You look at before we were on slave ships, because I think the Most High that we can both agree that our foreparents came off of them. So I have a vested interest in this question because we are the same. Who were our people before slavery? What were they named? Who were they?
It depends where you took them from.
The beginning.
What do you mean the beginning? The beginning of slavery? What are you looking for? Just come out direct and tell me what you're looking for, bro.
Okay, I think I'm making it polite. Hold on, brother. I think I'm making it crystal clear. Like, for instance,
no. Listen, you're making it crystal clear, and I'm giving you crystal answers, but you're looking for something
brother. Let me tell you what I'm looking for in particular then. All right? I don't want to talk about who enslaved us. I'm just saying we are black people that came off of slave ships. I know we all come from West Africa. That's elementary. What I'm asking you for originally, just like you got Brother Shaka Atmos on the phone, who's an Egyptologist, and the brother, he championed being from Egypt, which is fine because we have history of our people being there. What I'm asking you is, are we Egyptians? That's what I'm asking you.
You're asking me, now when you ask me, are we Egyptian? Who's the we that you are talking about?
Black people that came off of the cargo slave ships and were sold. Do we have a direct lineage to the bloodline of Egyptians?
Some of us do, my brother. But again, I think the part that you're not understanding is when we say Nile Valley civilization, which cannot be limited exclusively to the geographical locale that is today known as Egypt.
That's right.
Nile Valley civilization extends.
Okay. Now we're getting someplace. So let me ask you.
I just want to interject, if I may. This is Shaka Amos. I have to admit that when you asked me the questions that you asked me, I tried to be respectful of the host because it's his show, and I go along with what I consider rules. You say that you don't want to talk about the Bible, yet you ask questions that the Bible certainly speaks specifically to, that those of the Hebrew Israelite faith champion and build their foundations upon. So I think it's rather disingenuous and dishonest of yourself to portray yourself as someone asking general, objective questions that in no way have any bearing on any of the subject matters that we're going to be debating on the 8th, when in fact Polite just had to pull it out of you, that you were not really asking where the West Africans came from. You were really asking how and why should we define ourselves as Egyptians, and you should have just cut to the chase instead of the typical Hebrew Israelite, obfuscation and hidden agendas and ulterior motives. This is what always leaves a bad taste in my mouth about the general Hebrew Israelite community at large. You don't know how to speak honest. One honest bone in the body of the Hebrew Israelites who jump onto this agenda in defense of the Hebrew Israelite worldview. I think that we can have an honest discussion, but it takes two sides to be honest. We need to cut with it. Don't play games. If there's something that you want to ask, come out and ask it. You know, there's no need to pretend that there's no need to be defensive of the Bible. We're not here to attack it. We're here to have an honest dialogue. So there's no need to say let's avoid the Bible when in fact questions are pertaining exactly to that, whether it's on a geopolitical level, a geohistorical level, or some other one. And normally I would admonish Saber Polite for being so rude, but he had every right to be so because he saw your questions for what they were. It was just I have a bad habit of giving people the benefit of the doubt, and I hope that in the future that people could be deserving of it and just be honest with respect to where they're coming from.
Okay, brother. Thank you. Are you done? Would you like to say something else before I respond to what you've just put out there?
I'll say it. This brother Sarnetta. So with that being said, brother, just come straight forward. We are not afraid to answer any questions, whether it's pertaining to Kemet or the Bible. I mean, this is great promotion, brother. And I want to say you're doing a good job, my man.
Thank you. Now I'm going to add, first of all, maybe because some of you came in late, you've come in late, you probably didn't understand, but I'm going to make this crystal clear, okay? And I'm going to say this, brother, to the brother originally, Shaka Amos. Yes. Brother, I came in total honesty. First of all, I said it from the beginning, brother. You know what we believe. So it's, yes. I'm not prefacing questions with a backdoor agenda. Understand what I'm doing, brother. And okay. I said it. Make it clear what I said from the beginning. I'm prefacing questions based on what I know others would like to know, because maybe there's a middle ground that we can start from. Brother, you notice that when you speak, I don't interrupt you, so I want you to understand something. Continue. All right, and guess what? When you respond, I will not say nothing whether I agree or disagree, because yes, I respect you, brother, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, I don't have a backdoor agenda. These are questions that must be answered, and I said fundamentally based on how we have learned to receive and understand information from the beginning. So I can't separate myself from how I process information. Now, even though how I process information is Bible-based, I'm willing to step and say, let's not even argue about the Bible, because there is things historically that can connect us, that can lead us to the same place. I made that clear, so I can't separate myself from what I believe, but I have enough respect for you in this conversation to say, okay, let's not even talk about the Bible because you disagree with it. Let me come to an understanding of an origin so that other people listening can say, you know what, I can pull from this source outside the Bible. So these are the things, these are the questions that our people have to say, okay, there's fundamental sources that we can agree with to start from. Okay? So let's clear the air with that. I'm not here to fight no one. I'm here to come on one accord, but these questions must be answered. Okay? And if they can't be answered, guess what? That's good too. Because that's something that we can all come together and say, okay, based on this not being able to get answered, let me go back and let me sharpen my sword more. Let me go get some information so we can build even if there's a chasm or a void here. I don't have no problem with that, brother.
May I interject? May I? I'm asking.
Sure.
With your permission.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm going to keep it brief. I'm going to keep it brief because there are questions for other people as well, I'm sure. Then allow me to say this. And I think that had the question been asked more forthrightly, because if you notice, the way you asked me, actually all of the questions, one of the reasons that I had some difficulty in answering your questions is because, at least from my perspective, the questions were not clearly, and I always tell students when I'm standing in front of a classroom, the answer to a question should always be commensurate to the question asked. If you ask a poor question, you're entitled to a poor answer. If you ask a mediocre question, you're entitled to a mediocre answer, and so on and so on. If you ask a great question, you're entitled to a great answer. So now that I have an idea of what the agenda was, or at least I have more insight as to what it was that you were searching for in the answers. And the reason I say that is because when you asked your initial question to Brother Polite about slave ships, stepping off of slave ships, being in West Africa, right? And then it turned out, as Polite cajoled you, that what you really wanted to know is, then how do we all define ourselves as ancient Egyptians? Or how do any of us define ourselves as ancient Egyptians, being we come from West Africa? Because had you posed the question forthrightly like that to myself, I would have given you an excellent answer. In fact, I would have given you the migrational history of the people who came from the Nile Valley and how they ended up in West Africa, and then on the slave ships. I would have responded to you that our history did not begin in West Africa. Just because you encounter a people historically in a place of departure, that is no indication whatsoever that that is their beginning and where they started from. Any person that thinks that doesn't know the first thing about anthropology or archaeology 101, be they a Kemetic person or Hebrew Israelite or Christian or Muslim. So that's first. Secondly, and more importantly, just to answer your question in a nutshell, the one thing we all have to agree upon, whether we want to or not, and I'm going with the DNA. I deal with science. At the end of the day, I'm going with the knowledge and the facts and the evidence. That's DNA. I very rarely share my beliefs with people because no one can profit from whatever it is that I believe. However, you can profit from what someone else knows because it's based on knowledge, and knowledge has a premium connected to it that belief and faith do not. Okay, you can't build a plane, an airplane, or a rocket ship on faith and belief. You have to use knowledge. Okay, so the knowledge says that all human beings begin in Africa, and that mankind has three stages: were born, lived, and died in Africa, and never developed the ability or the need to exit Africa. At the third stage, which is the Homo erectus stage, mankind did exit Africa. They went up through the Strait of Gibraltar. They also went over into Asia at the Homo erectus stage. After the Homo erectus stage, you get other back and forth migrations from outside of Africa and into Africa, but there is no question as to where the earliest hominids existed at. That is only on the continent of Africa. That is not what Shaka Amo says. That is what the fossil record says. So the one thing that we could all agree upon is that we have an African genesis on this planet. If we need a starting point as a people, as a race, we could all agree upon the fact that mankind, particularly at the Homo sapiens sapiens stage, which is what our species represents. We are the species, as Brother Reggie often says. Everyone else is a race or is a race of that species or a subset of that species. But black people, Africans, are the species. Okay? So we could all base rally around something, and this is why Marcus Garvey was all about black nationalism at the end of the day. And he had Hebrew Israelites working with him. He himself was a Catholic. He did not consider himself a Hebrew Israelite. He was a practicing Catholic all of his life, up until the time he died in the jail cell in the UK, where you guys are. So, therefore, if a practicing Catholic who gathered more black people together on this planet in the 20th century than any other leader has before or since, if he can agree that Africa and Africa alone must be our rallying cry, that if it was good enough for Marcus Garvey, it is certainly good enough for myself. I am not an Egyptologist. In fact, for black people who subscribe to an ancient Kemetic or ancient Egyptian worldview, our biggest enemies happen to be the Egyptologists, because Egyptologists did not come to the field of Egyptology to do African people any good. Egypt was an African civilization on the African continent, inaugurated, established, and championed by indigenous black African people. That is a fact. What is also a fact is that Egypt was also a composite civilization. It was a civilization that was made up of the knowledge and contributions of African black people from throughout the rest of the continent. If you read Van Sertima's Egypt, Child of Black Africa, he specifically says so. In fact, I can quote for you. I will quote for you right now, just so that you can hear it, and whoever's listening can hear it as well. Heartland. Here we go. Give me 1 second. Bang, 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 bang. Heartland. Here we go. This is a quote from. Okay, I misquoted the book. It's called Egypt Revisited. The introduction, paragraph 4, page 3 and 4, Journal of African Civilizations, published in 1989. Rutgers University. This is the quote. Egypt was the node and center of a vast web linking the strands of Africa's main cultures and languages. The light that crystallized at the center of this early world had been energized by the cultural electricity streaming from the heartland of Africa, meaning that Egypt did not just fall out of the sky and became great. It was the culmination of everything else that was going on interior of the continent, all the way from the south in southern Africa to the west in West Africa, throughout the east, all of these, particularly Central Africa, the Great Lakes region, the Ruwenzori mountain range, Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, all of those areas. And as Dr. Joseph Ben-Yakinen said, the first two major migrations would have been the Hutu and the Tutsi, and also the Twa people, who you call the Pygmies. So all of these people were the first people to create writing, to create mathematics, to create science, to create paper. There would be no books. There would be no other civilizations on the planet being worthy of being called civilization if it were not for these black African people. That is a fact. That is a historical fact. That is not something that I need to make up. If you need me to quote again, I'll quote Budge right here.
Okay, Brother Shaka, all right. Yeah. Let's hold that there for a minute, all right? This is Brother Gadja. I'm the primary host, all right? Before we go over there, I want to pull this back in, all right? I know Brother Polite and Brother Sanetta are here as well. I want to pull this back into the conversation that we're having based on the line of questioning, okay? And let me pull Elder Rakai. I think we all understand where we stand right now. There isn't no hidden agenda, and we're just asking, the questions. All right. So let me pull Elder Rakai back in, right quick, and then we can get this thing moving again before we go off. Before we go off in, let's get it back. All right. And everybody, you're listening to the search. You're listening to the Search Engine International. Yes. All right. This is our first episode back. Our first broadcast in a while, and it's also, very good one. I want to thank the brothers for coming and taking the time out to come on. And the debate, as you know, is this week, this Sunday. If you not receive your ticket, go ahead and get your ticket. This is, it's gonna be really good. Elder Gabar, they're representing for the Gathering of Christ Church. All right. So let me bring back Elder Rakari. Elder Rakari, can you hear me?
Yes. And I thank the brother. For his the dissertation. But what I was asking in general is, and I don't know, maybe it can't be answered in a nutshell. who are we? Are we?
I think I answered that. I answered that question.
Okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Well, we'll just accept what you said. That's good. That's good. Sure. That's fine.
Hey, we still got Brother Polite here. I mean, you asked him a question. He ready?
Oh, okay. Okay. So Polite. You here? You're gonna tell us who we are, or is it going to take a long time, or is it one person? Are we one nation? In a nutshell, if someone was to ask you, who are we? Those that come directly from the slave ships and our primal origin, that's a better way to preference it. What would you tell them in a nutshell? We're who?
There is no nutshell when you're talking about slavery. There was 3 major slavery expeditions that were led. And each one of these cases, there were people from different nationalities and different geographical locales of Africa. So to turn around and put them all into one category would not be fair to the cultures that they were practicing. What we will tell you is that, yes, these were African hosts. What we would tell you is, if you wanted to know where they were in their inception or where they came from predominantly, then we can tell you they came from the Nile Valley civilization. Nile Valley civilization. So
okay, let me ask you in specific then. Let me ask you in some specific tribes, some specific people that wasn't scattered all over the place. Let's just go with just specifics then, so there's nothing vague. Let's go with the Igbo tribe.
Yes.
Where did they come from? Who were they originally?
Originally, they migrated from Kemet. And I got something beautiful I'm gonna express and show you guys.
Okay. I'm gonna deal with what you have beautiful, but what I'm trying to ask you is the Igbo tribe. You said they migrated from. It's Kemet. When you say Kemet, you say they migrated from Egypt. The Igbo tribe.
That's correct. A great deal of the hosts migrated from Kemet, and you can see impressions of Kemetic culture in Nigeria. Whether you're talking about Igbo, whether you're talking about Hausa, whether you're talking about Yoruba.
That's right.
You can clearly.
No, I'm just talking about in particular. Let's just keep on the Igbo tribe real quick.
But you see, this is what you got to understand, brother. It's not fair to only talk about the Igbo tribe when you have Hausa, when you have Yoruba. Because you got to understand that these are different cultural paradigms that people of the same genetic stock had started making subscriptions to. The people are the same. The cultures have a difference. So I'm trying to explain to you, the people, your religion doesn't determine what you are genetically. So we're genetically talking about the same stuff, but they're practicing or engaging in different spiritual paradigms. That's why I'm putting in one hope.
Brother, the reason I'm asking you, brother, let me make this clear. The reason I asked you in specific is because it was about to become so diverse that we wasn't going to come to a conclusion. So I wanted to narrow it. Let me have you understand what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, let's make this clear. This brother is going to come on this program with profanity. He can bow out of this conversation.
No, Shaka, be respectful, brother. Shaka.
Okay, all right.
Hold up. One sec, Ella. Brother Shaka's on. Yeah, okay. All right, go ahead.
Keep going, brother. I'm listening. Keep going.
Okay. The reason why I preference it down to one, because I didn't want to make it diverse because you said there was many. So I just wanted to focus on one in the beginning, and then we can branch out. Is that good?
It's not good, and I explain why it's not good. So this is why I'm asking you. Okay. If you want to ask something, be more forthcoming. Oh, as a matter of fact, this is what I would rather you do. I'd rather you tell me what is it that's on your mind. Tell me what you see as the truth, and then maybe we should start backpedaling from the point where you call it the truth. Because I'm telling you, when I have to mention other people, that's to make it clear that there's a distinction to be made amidst of a paradigm and a people. The people engage in certain paradigms. You dig what I'm saying? But though the paradigms are diverse, the people that we're speaking about specifically are of the same stock. And that seems to cause a problem. You're trying to make me talk about one tribe in particular as though that tribe genetically is different from the other practicing tribes, same geographical location. So I don't want to be limited to one tribe fundamentally, because it's not fair to the African peoples that encompass or inhabit that particular geographical location. That's what I'm telling you about. So since that's not getting through, I would propose that you tell me what you perceive to be the truth, and maybe we can work our way backwards, because it's not going to work the way you're talking to me, because I'm not wired to take one tribe out of a whole community and isolate them from the rest of the community. I'm not wired like that. I don't think like that. It's inconceivable for me to take a tribe and think that that tribe is separate and different from the other people they're living with, that are all indigenous to the same lands, just engaging in different spiritual and cultural paradigms. I just am not wired like that. So maybe it's a different approach you can give me, or come up with a new question, or propose something to me that maybe I agree with you, or I may rebut it. Because I'm not even sure what you're looking for in the first place, but you seem disappointed each question you ask. So since it's getting difficult, just propose to me what you conceive to be the truth, and I will either yield to it or do something otherwise. Because we might even wind up agreeing, brother. And, it might happen where we agree about something. That's how I feel about the situation right now. I don't want to be difficult with you at all. I don't want to be. What is it that you want from us?
Okay, thank you, brother. Okay, so we're going to just forego that question altogether, and it's right. We'll just leave that inconclusive. All right, let me go to the next question here. All right.
Can I ask you a question?
After I ask my last question, yeah.
It's in line with what was going on here. I want to see if you could understand my perspective. I'm not trying to trick you or nothing like that, or attack you. I know Kemet is on trial, so I'm not trying to ask you a bunch of questions.
Brother, Kemet is not on trial. You missed the first part of this. Cool. So you would never preference. You would have never said that.
All right, no problem. But I thought this was a promotion for the. So what I'm saying is that y'all believe in 12 tribes, correct?
Brother, I'm not going there right now. There's one question got to be answered first.
Hold on, real quick.
I'm not going there right now.
Before you move forward, where is it that you're trying not to go? Because you just told me I can ask you a question. And I'm not asking you a question.
Listen, brother, I said after I ask my next question, you can ask me any question you want.
All right,
but we got a program here.
Before you do it, my brother, I just want to suggest something to you. I didn't feel comfortable where you say you'll leave the question inconclusive. So what I wanted to do was do the same thing you was doing with African tribes, with your Hebrew Israelite tribes, and see if you would be willing to separate one out of your 12 tribes from the rest of the Israelite community. That's all I wanted to do. But I'll wait, and I'll present that to you after your question.
And you know what? That has been deposited. I'll make sure I answer that question. Okay? Let me get to the next question. Is that all right?
No problem. This is your show.
Okay, thank you. And I'll be more than willing to. I'll be more than willing to answer that question once after we go through this one. All right.
It's rhetorical.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. All right, that's fine. All right. The question I have for the next question is, and this is for you, Brother Polite. Who are the gods, or is there multiple gods you follow, or is there an ultimate God? And if so, what do you call him? And what's the source that we learn how to follow this God? What is the source we draw from to understand this God or these gods?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Hold on, Brother Jonathan. We on the radio show in London?
In UK.
In UK. Hold on, Jonathan.
Yeah. So okay. Your question, just ask it to me one more time, because we was plugging in another brother. Are there multiple gods? Okay.
Go ahead. I'm listening, brother. Okay. I can ask again. other gods you believe in, or I would say,
I'll do that. I'll answer
okay, let me.
One at a time. So keep
okay, let
me.
let me preference the whole question for you here.
Okay.
So that you can just answer it all at once, and therefore there's no need for me to interject. You'll just answer it. That's it. Who are the gods? Okay, great. Who are the gods or God you reverence? How do you go about following this God? And what source would one have to find out about this God or gods?
Love it. I'll tell you this. The God that I hold in high esteem, that I reverence, is the black woman. By default, since I worship the black woman, I inadvertently find myself worshiping myself. The principle behind that you can find throughout the walls of Kemet and the disposition of the Egyptians. Say, for instance, Necherhet, or who you call Zozar. That's an instance. Are you familiar with Necherhet? No. Or Zozar? Are you still on, brother?
Are you asking me, am I familiar with it?
Yeah, I need to know where I'm at in conversation. Are you familiar with Necherhet?
Well, really, brother, I'm here to gain the understanding of what I've never studied here.
I'm sorry, my brother.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be mistaken. I'm not trying to trick you or nothing.
I don't think you're trying to trick me, brother. I just need you to explain your gods and gods are and how you worship it and what reference you draw from. That's all I don't know. I don't know what you're dealing with.
I got it. You don't have no clue what's going on. I got it.
Yeah,
I got
it.
You. The only reason I ask these questions because when I'm talking to Hebrew Israelites, they tend to give the impression that they've been studying Egypt so much they damn near know more than we know. So because of this, I didn't want to have a preconceived notion that you know absolutely nothing about that which you question and condemn. So I wanted to know what is it that we could understand amongst each other so I would know if I'd be digressing or not. So that's what I was trying to figure out. In law, it's something called the doctrine of equal footing. You see what I'm saying? And in Kemet, we call it ma'at, or balance. You see what I'm saying? So I just wanted to know what you knew as far as us exchanging information so I could be on safe ground, so I can know if I'm out to say something over the head or if I got to slow it down because you may not be as astute and Kemetic philosophy. So that's all. But don't worry about it. I'll come back at it from a different perspective. And I'm going to presume you have no clue what's going on in Kemet and that you are not a person that's against Kemet, nor do you condemn Kemet. Because in order to condemn Kemet, you would have to have enough knowledge about it. So I'm going to presume you have no knowledge about Kemet. And I'm going to take this from the ground floor. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it from the ground floor. All right? Is this safe?
Okay, thank you.
All right, cool. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to take it from the ground floor. I'm going to tell you first and foremost is my personal conviction to worship the black woman because we revere our mothers in Kemetic culture. This is seen throughout the course of Kemet. I'll give you one example, and if you need more, I'll give you several examples. In one example, you find Horus, and his wife is Heru, which some call Hazor, and his mother would be who you call Aset, okay, and her counterpart would be called Usir, and his very name implies that he created Aset. That's a whole nother situation. When you deal with Aset, what does Aset name mean? This is a rhetorical question because I'm presuming you know absolutely nothing about Kemet. Therefore, you can never condemn Kemet. This is what I got in my mind here. So Aset would mean throne. So we identify the female, this particular female, one of the most prominent females in Kemet, as the throne. The man doesn't have a throne. You see what I'm saying? The woman is the throne. This is not even the point, but I think it's a point of significance to identify the female as throne. We also find that where's wisdom come from? Wisdom in Kemet is personified through who? Female. Okay? Wisdom in Kemet is personified through the female nature as well. But we're still not going to go that far either. Because we seek wisdom, and if we seek in wisdom, we're going to have to seek our mothers again. But and I hope it is not taken out of context. I'm saying things out there so you can question me about something, so then I could really drop something. So now I'm going to go back to Aset, who is the mother of Horus, who Horus has a female counterpart called Heru, who the Greeks may call Hathor. Now, Hathor or Heru is another manifestation of Horus' mother, Aset. She embodies several that Aset embodies. We learn in Kemetic culture that if a man was to pick a woman, we learn through this principle that we should idealistically look for a woman that shares the same attributes as our mother. You understand what I'm saying? So, what I'm telling you now is, based on how I've been edified through engaging the Kemetic philosophy and doctrine, I then take that because I'm free, because this is not a religion. So I'm free to think on my own. That's the beauty about this Kemetic doctrine. I'm not going to be condemned for having a unique perspective. I'm now free. I can go in the dictionary because I'm free. I'm not obligated to no one religiously. And I can go in the dictionary and I can see that in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, for example, a god is anyone or thing that is in control of a specific aspect of creation. Verbatim. A god is anyone or thing that is in control of a specific aspect of creation. In Kemet, they observe nature, and they bear witness to the splendor of nature. In fact, nature encompasses all things. But that would be vague, explaining that to someone from a religious realm per se. So what they did was they featured or they cataloged significant occurrences in nature that represented a functional capacity of that which they conceptualized to be divine. Case in point, you will see the cow, Heru. They would identify her as even a cow, or say that the cow corresponds with her divinity. And when a cow gives birth, after it gives birth, there's a tear coming down the eye of the cow. And that expresses a sense of empathy. Now here is a grown man and a grown woman who feels that they are superior to a cow, but they are able to observe something that transpires within the cow's realm of things and see something divine taking place. So no, they did not worship the cow. They identified with that which was divine that was being evoked. And in that, it was established that this is one of the unseen, made manifest capacities of what we consider to be divine. So yes, nature embosses or encompasses all things, but that concept is too much to grasp for most people. So what we do is break things down through our observance in nature. And through observing everything that we see in nature, we're able to come to the conclusion that the highest form of worship is to worship oneself. But the only way I may know about myself is to study things outside me and appreciate that which exists outside of me in order to relate to myself. This is in essence what many people have misconstrued when they started creating deviations of the Kemetic or Nile Valley civilization paradigm. So I worship self. And the way I worship self is to bear witness to phenomena that exist outside me, that hint at my own innate divine abilities. So we look at the woman and we see that she is in control of specific aspects of creation, that we render onto her godship. This does not mean I am devoid of godship. This just means as a male, I look outside of me and bring it back to me when I see a divine occurrence. So in my perspective, what you'll understand as a Nisut, the Nisut all had the the chief deities or deities that they had higher inclinations towards because they wanted to manifest certain attributes. So that's why you see when you have different rulers in Kemet, they all did have the highest inclination towards the same deities because nobody is equal in potential on this planet Earth. Hold on. Everybody has potential, but no one is equal. I'm going to do it real quick, brother. Everyone is high in potential, but not equal at the same exact time. So I just want to call. I'll stop. My brother got to do something. I'm good. I'm good. I can't be talking with this, man. It's fucking crazy, man. Okay. You good, man? I'm good. I hope the point got made.
No, I was going to say keep talking. I just wanted to use this to make a call.
You can't be doing all that shit when I'm talking.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, brother.
Family, y'all there?
Yes, brother. We're here. We just hearing you. Yeah, we just hearing your the information you have on who your God is and how do you go about what's your source of following this particular God. But we listening.
My source for following this God is all throughout all the stones and all the statues that you see. If you go to Memnon, all right, if you go down to Luxor and you travel south, you're going to see giant statues, right? And you're going to see that they keep the mother and the wife right next to them.
What kind of practice?
You're going to see this. If you go to the temple erected for Horus, you're going to see that he has his wife right there before him, which is a manifestation of his mother or Set. You're going to always see reverence to the woman. But what I'm explaining to you is this. No one was obligated to worship the same exact deity. Everyone found within themselves that which they wanted to manifest before others. Everyone found within themselves what they felt it sufficed to showcase to the rest of the world in terms of divinity. So that's why if you go to Hatshepsut mortuary, you'll see Hatshepsut consecrated a space for Heru on the left and consecrated a space for Anubis or Anupu on the right. It was every Nasu's divine right to express what they related to most or what they wanted to showcase. So in my divine right, what I learned from Kemetic culture, the deity that I choose to identify with, because I'm taught this in Kemetic culture, it is my right as a Nasu in my own right to identify with who I deem to be a reflection of the Creator is my wife. My wife reflects the greatest things that I've ever seen in nature, principles that I want engendered around my psychology. My wife has done so much good for me in my world that it suffices to say that I must revere her. I must honor her. I learned this conception from Kemet through my interpolation of the culture from what I've been reading and seeing be done. I worship my wife, and in doing so, I do justice to myself, because it takes a great deal of humility to go outside yourself and revere someone for the greatness that they do. So in turn, I uplift myself when I uplift my wife. I worship my wife. She is my God.
Okay. All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I mean, you've expressed, you've answered the question. It's real quick before. Of course, you got a question to ask me, but Shaka Ablos, you on the line too? Shaka? Is Shaka Ablos gone?
I think Shaka came up before.
Huh?
Yes, I think Shaka hung up. You still there? Wait, 1 sec. Nah, he hung up before. Shaka hung up.
Okay, Shaka's gone?
Yes.
Yeah, Shaka's gone, man.
Don't worry about it. We here. Come on, brother.
Oh, okay, great. We got Brother Polite. Who else with Polite here?
I don't know if Jonathan is still on.
Jonathan, you still there?
Yes, sir. How y'all doing, brothers?
Yeah, we got Brother Jonathan
brother,
from the Arm and Rob Squad.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I know you have a question for me, but we're still on the same question. Just wanted to acknowledge this, brother. What's your name again, brother?
Who are you talking
My name is Jonathan.
Yeah. Jonathan. Brother Jonathan, you're from the House of Consciousness also, right?
Yes,
not necessarily.
Yes, he's from the House of Consciousness. He's the Arm and Rob
Squad. I'm being presented. Exactly.
Oh, you
exactly.
Okay, great. I'm overseas, so I'm just, I mean, bear with me. So your God is your wife too, or you can just, or you can deal with something different.
Tell him you asked him with God.
You have.
Hold on. I can answer that.
No, you can answer it. Let me reiterate one more thing, real quick. In Kemet, no one was forced to worship the same attributes. It is our divine right to identify or manifest certain capacities of nature as we see fit. So I find it befitting for me to worship my wife because that she expresses attributes in nature that to me offset something that inspires me to do better myself. So no one was obligated or coerced or forced to worship the same nature capacities. I'll stress that again. Peace.
Oh, okay, brother. That was the positive, but what I'm asking Jonathan, since we know that it's a plethora of choices based on your own desires, whatever the case might be, I wanted to know what was his. If it's not his wife,
as my brother put forth so eloquently, and understanding Kemetic spirituality, we have the freedom. We have a spiritual freedom as long as we are adhering to the underlying principle of truth, which is set forth called Ma'at. A lot of us know this as Ma'at. As long as we are set forth and stand under the principles of truth, we can, in our understanding of spirituality, venerate whatsoever we choose at that moment. You see what I'm saying? Because let me show you why. There's a misunderstanding of what you might know as polytheism, which is actually appreciated as pantheism. Okay, pantheism sees God in all things, everything, nothing non-exclusive. Okay, God is in everything, coming from the aspect of a pantheist, one who may venerate God in the wind blowing by when you need a breath of fresh air, or one who may venerate God in the ever-rising sun. Okay, because we all say we don't venerate these things, but if the sun don't come up tomorrow, you might call on God, but you're looking for the sun. Okay, so in our spiritual freedom and understanding African principles, we can do whatsoever we choose as long as we adhere Ma'at.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you, brother.
And Ma'at being the truth. Go ahead. I thought you was.
Well, on that, brother. What source do you draw from in particular? Is there one main source to get this information on what you're speaking of here?
Directly. Yes, sir. Two main sources. One of them being the pyramid text, and the second source being the coffin text. Okay.
So the pyramid and the coffin text actually guides you into the spirit of what you should worship, how you should worship. That's what
not necessarily, not as the way you would define worship or veneration. You see, because some of the things that we can't get away from is how theology is the umbrella over your whole spectrum of thought. You see what I'm saying? You can't even, I mean, not you in specific, but one could not even fathom what I'm saying, as in, I don't need to necessarily look for an exact. See, the Bible, and it's not an attack on the Bible, but certain things were manifested for certain people who needed them. If taboo is established in the culture already, we don't got to go around telling everybody what not to do. Now, there are rules and principles out there, guidance, yes, and I told you directly from the pyramid text where I get these principles and where we learn certain things about Kemet, basically, and Kemetic spirituality.
Okay. Well, brother, just on that, because that sets up the second part of this question, which really is this part of it. Let me ask you, because we know that Horus and Isis are key prominent deities within the African religion going back to ancient Egypt. Let me ask you a question. According to what you've learned, how did they come into existence, and what source do you have on that?
Okay, I'll take you directly to primary sources most every time I speak. If we deal with the pyramid text, what we'll find actually is Heru comes into existence before Asar, who is supposedly his father, and before Aset, who is supposedly his mother. We'll find Heru on primaries. We can find, okay, I said I'll take you to primaries, right? So if you want to do some cryptographic reading, you can whip out the Narmer palette, all right? And then you're going to learn how to read standards if you want a source on that. It's R12 in the Gardner sign list. It's called a standard. And upon the standard, we will find a totem of veneration, which could symbolize the clan or the people who follow this totem. Now, on the Narmer palette, you'll see a procession of 4 people before the Nisut, okay? And on the first 2 standards that they're holding, you're going to see 2 falcons. Okay, now this is an indication, and to corroborate it further, on the 3rd you'll see what looks like a jackal, on the 4th a placenta. This is a manifestation of the Shemsu Heru, the followers of Horus, in pre-dynastic times, before we can find Aset, or before we can find Asar. Now, if you really want a source, you're going to go to the pyramid text, and I think it's going to be the 4th dynasty tomb of Nisura. And if not, I'm very close to that. But this is when we find Asar first coming out, okay? Because we had Khenti-U, Amentu, who was the foremost of the Westerners, being venerated and acknowledged long before the fathers of the father and mother of Heru. So when we get back to the initial question of when they first came into existence, I would just manifest that the followers of Horus were here initially before some of the mythology came afterwards and added to the story. And if we look through the periodization of Egypt, this is how a lot of the stories happen. Different things transpire and different things get added to the story.
So again, I'm just going to ask you if you could preface this for me. How did they come into existence, the gods Horus and Isis? Where did they come from? Let's talk about Isis. Where did she come from? Let's just talk about Isis.
If we deal with, we'll start having to deal with the mythology, because all these questions are, they have various different mythologies on how the deities came into existence, how the Neteru came into existence. But if we really want to deal with sort of a primary source that is not necessarily mythological, we would possibly deal with Manetho Zep Tepi, which is just basically stating the first time and discussing how man actually came into existence. And we start with the guy, I think, Ptah, who was infinite. And this is something I have to run down. Ptah was infinite. And if we take this into sort of a genealogy of man, it's just saying like the first man had been here forever. You see what I'm saying? After Ptah, Manetho said it was Atum Ra. Okay, in the beginning, because you want to know where they came from. After Ptah was supposedly Atum Ra. And after Atum Ra, we get into the lineage of Kemet till we get down to Aset and Heru. And then they actually, after Heru, I think we bring forth the first king. So this is actually coming from a kingshood. If you want to look into it, it's called the Zep Tepi, but it goes back into the original origin of our people. You see what I'm saying? And like Manetho said, the first man was here forever. When we get down to the time of Isis, and now if you want to keep it real, you know the same way certain people refer to like Adam and be like, oh, no, Adam in the Bible, and be like, no, Adam wasn't just one man, Adam was a people. Well, in sort of the same way, Manetho was describing these first demigods, sort of like as and I say demigod to use a Greek term, but the first Neteru, which he was like basically describing them in the same fashion. So I don't want to run on, and I don't want to keep on, but what we find is the story of Zep Tepi, they all came from Ptah, and ISIS and Asar has supposedly ruled 400 years. It's just a story that could be perceived mythological, but I said again, we start to get into mythology when we ask the solid questions of the sort, like, where did Heru come from? I wouldn't pose like, you know what I'm saying, there's no archaeological attestation to that.
Okay, all right.
And Elder Ricard, this is Brother Gabba from New York. Just for those that are listening, we got 51 minutes before the overtime. If you want to, we pretty much booked. So those that are listening, we got 51 minutes before overtime before you get caught up. If you're listening online, so I just want to just drop that. And also, Brother Sarnetta, I know you're listening. Can you just tell the people, because I've been getting a lot of emails and questions in regards of ordering the debate online.
Yes, we're going to deal with that in like 5 minutes, but I just want to back up. I don't want to lose what just came out here, so that we can actually quantify it for the listeners. I don't want to be so fragmented that no one, you know what I mean?
Right. No problem.
We're actually going to go into the debate in 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll do it. Okay,
but just in a nutshell, what I think I got from the brother Jonathan who just spoke out is that the story on how Isis and Osiris came to be is mythological. Am I wrong? Did I hear that? Or maybe he can come back and follow up. Did you say that some of these stories are mythological?
Well, that is a great question, and that's one we would have to be honest and real humble in addressing. And the reason why we say this is because it was actually the Greeks who said this, because they couldn't fathom the duration of the rule of these supposed rulers. And I got the sources on that too. For instance, the term demigod was actually made to address these gods first. As we know, all of the Greek gods came from Egypt, as Herodotus told us. So in the nature of trying to understand, you see what I'm saying, let's say some of the longer rules of some of the first people mentioned in the story called the Zep Tepi, okay? And now to add to what you're saying, they had such a long rule that they were considered demigods. But now, I say they could have been a people, just like they said Adam was a people in the Bible. But here's what's key about it. Because after they get past Asar, Haset, Heru, they say it starts an actual king list of Kemet. So we would start dealing with Mena or Narmer or what have you, and then going into the following pharaohs, Din, and all of these first dynastic rulers. So this is something that we would have to look at. It was not Manetho who put the mythological classification on the Zep Tepi. It was the Greeks' understanding or the way to appropriate the Zep Tepi to where they classify all the long rules of the first Neteru as mythological. And we could find that in any good work on Manetho.
Okay, so we can say for sure, based on what we know right now at this moment, that you really don't know how ISIS came into existence.
So I would not say that. I would not look past what Manetho told us. If we would take time to address the source that I keep on mentioning, is a strict genealogy, starting with Ptah, and I say it may be considered out of the spirit of honesty a mythological genealogy because that is the way it has been assessed. But the problem with that is actual real life kings appear in the same list of the Zep Tepi. Okay, so that's what we would have to deal with. So, like saying, where does it become mythological? Do we say they came from where he?
Well, what I'm saying, Jonathan, you can see how, being listeners, I'm sure listeners are hearing this, how that can seem vague in what something substantial as far as vagueness is concerned, as far as you understanding how a God you may reverence or respect and you have no idea how she came into existence. You can only go by a vague mythological story that came during the time of the Greeks.
Well, that's definitely, that goes across first and primarily. You can't keep forecasting the understanding of deity that comes from the Abrahamic faith onto the Kemetic faith. But second of all, that would be across the board for any deity under or above the sun. Am I correct? You can tell me where Yahweh came from, or you can tell me where Allah has come from, or could you... So this is a question in the sense of filibustering a prominent conversation. If you can tell me where any deity came from, then we would stand under the scrutiny of having to say where all of the Netzeru have come from. But we understand them simply to sometimes be deified ancestors, to sometimes be deified ancestors, to sometimes be elements of nature, to sometimes be many things. So we have to, and what we'll reveal on February 8th is a greater understanding of the Netzeru.
Okay, all right, thank you. The only reason I wanted to really spend a little time on that, brother, is because, not to put you out there in a certain type of way, but just so that we can have a clear understanding that in order for someone to actually agree or come into what you're dealing with, it takes something outside of science. It takes a little faith too, don't you think? To believe some of these things that's not substantiated.
I would say it takes no. I mean, I'm not saying in the nature to disagree with you, but faith is simply strength or in what we don't know and hoping that is true. Basically, it's our strength and hope. You see what I'm saying? So who doesn't want strength and hope? You see what I'm saying? But I don't think that it's required to understand some of the things that were left for us to know that are simply there, written in stone, that always is not a mystery. Sometimes we could just take the time and be diligent and get to the bottom of things. So some of these things ain't a mystery now, like I said. So if you can ask a question that does not go across the board for the phenomenon of deity, and then we'll be getting somewhere. But if that question could be asked unilaterally across the board, and then it seems like we just kind of like need to move on.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, brother. I mean, it's a good conversation, and I'm glad we were able to at least have this dialogue. And it's really a great place. This debate that's coming. I mean, based on what I'm hearing tonight, all praise be to our Creator. Gabar should really do good in this. He should.
Hey, you see? And judging by that statement, Shaka was absolutely right.
And real quick, if we can preference to get ready for this debate, a matter of fact, we probably have someone from every side of the spectrum that's probably going to ask the brothers questions once we're done. But that's our 5 minutes is done, Gabar, if y'all want to go into the discussion.
Yes. And thank you, Elder. My apologies for
I like to thank the brothers. I mean, they were open with their questions. They answered them the best they could. I mean, it's wonderful. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Brother Sarnetta, go ahead. Basically, if people want to see the debate online, where they need to go, and all that good stuff, look it down for them.
Okay. Now, see, before I do that, first I want to say, unlike some of my Hebrew Israelite brothers, that the Kemetic brothers that deal with the Kemetic science, they are not afraid to answer questions. You see what I'm saying? Whereas you ask the Hebrew Israelite questions, they are afraid to deal with some of them questions. They don't want to touch on it. It's like when Brother Polite was asking the brother about the 12 tribes, he stayed away from that. You see, so I got to give a lot of credit to the brothers that deal with that Kemetic science, because they put it all on the line and they are not afraid They know that they got a debate coming up, and they don't say, oh, you know, I don't want to sit back because they might try to use it in a debate. But you see, the Kemetic people are so, the brothers that study the Kemetic science, they are so firm in what they teach, and they are strong in what they teach that they don't care what they say. They'll say it and let you try to use it against them. Whereas if we was to begin to ask you some questions, we'll see if y'all be scared to answer the questions. But anyway, here's what I want to tell you. If you want to watch this live stream, you can go to TownZoneTV.com. When you go to TownZoneTV.com, make sure y'all write this down. When you go to TownZoneTV.com, put in the search bar Sarnetta TV. Now you got to subscribe to the channel. Once you subscribe to the channel, then you can begin to purchase the ticket. After you put TownZoneTV.com, scroll down. It's going to take you to the ticket. Scroll down, and you can purchase your ticket and watch it live stream. You can also go to 2012stores.com. There's another live stream that you can see. You can either buy a ticket and come to the event. If the tickets are sold out, you can come and you can pay at the door. It don't matter.
Okay. And Brother Sarnetta, once the door is open, because another question they've been asking me, once the door is open, is the price going up? When is the deadline? Regards, I know now it's 25, but when is the deadline?
Yeah, well, we had tickets on sale, Brother Gabal, for like 2 months in advance.
Right.
So I still have a few tickets left, but once you pay at the door, of course, it's more at the door. That's why we say get your tickets in advance, but it's more at the door.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Now, one more thing. Me being the promoter of the debate, I'm not taking no side. I'm not on the sides of the Hebrews. I'm not on the sides of the Kemetic people, of the brothers. Because I've been promoting both of them. But I'm just saying, y'all got to be as fair. And I give you credit, Brother Gabar. I'm going to give you props and respect because you've been doing good on this debate. You've been promoting it as well. So I'm going to give you props. And me and my brother Polite got a side bet, a fun bet. It's a fun bet. And I bet it with my brother Gabar. I want the world to know out there that I bet it with Gabar that he going to do good with Shaka Utmost. And I'm going to leave it like that. So I'm rolling with my man Gabar. And on the other side, I'm rolling with the brother Polite and them team. So I'm not choosing sides. I'm just taking a friendly bet on the side. Hopefully, I can make a couple of dollars at the end of it.
Well, I hope I don't. I hope you don't lose money because of me. But I don't think you are. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say real quick that we don't. I'm not ducking questions. I want to put that out there. I wanted to make people understand that. No. Let me explain, and then I'm going to be open to answer the question if Polite is still on the phone. I've noticed that in some of these conversations and in some of these radio stations that what happens is things get lost through conjecture. Where if you try to answer a question with a question, the premise get lost. And we were trying to stay on base with a schedule based on the questions and the time that we had allotted for the show. But in respect of him, like I said, after I preference these questions, I will answer any question he would like. So I'm here, and I'm not ducking anything. I have my books in front of me. I have my Bible here. I have all the information. I mean, now that we're done, I'll answer the brother's question on the 12 tribes if he would like. A matter of fact, that's our family. Why not answer a question on the 12 tribes? So I'll answer the question for the brother if he would like to ask it. And I'll answer it in a short amount of time. It won't take too long. It'll be quick.
The time has expired for the question because it was relevant to our conversation. It was rhetorical.
Oh, okay.
You want to move forward, so I just have to accept it and leave it alone since you want to move forward.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, brother. And I'll
asking us questions. We all right with it. We're not worried about it.
Okay, brother. Well, the questions are pretty much done. And right now we got the audience who will be supporting this particular debate worldwide. They may have a few questions, or if you would like to stay on and finish talking with the people, I'm out of the way now, and we can take some calls if you would like.
We would love to call, my brother. We would love to.
Okay. All right. So we have.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Just before we go into the questions, right? Me being over here in the UK, I see a lot what goes on via in the States regarding the debates and the Kemetic community. You know, with brothers Sarnetta TV. You understand me? So having him here on the guesting tonight. I want to say, big up to you, Sarnetta, for for what you're doing. You with me, and keep doing it. You with me?
Where's okay?
Yes, I'm listening.
Can you hear me? Sarnetta there? Can you Sarnetta? Can you hear me? All right, and just one question I wanted to ask you, Sarnetta, right? And then we're gonna open the question, and we're gonna open the line. This is specifically for you, right?
Yeah.
Based on what you've been seeing with the Hebrew community and also with the Kemetic movement, right? If you had a relative, all right, and heaven forbid this, a relative that was ill and needed prayer, would you go to polite wife, or would you consult with the God of the Hebrews?
To keep it real,
keeping it real,
I wouldn't go to anybody like that. If I need,
right,
why would I? Anyone?
All right, man, bless. I just wanted to know, being what you're seeing and what you're learning right now from both sides of the spectrum, because in some sort of way, I kind of came into the truth similar to this. You with me? Similar to seeing both sides of the spectrum.
Are you trying to say,
it was an ignorant question.
Are you trying to say because the brothers say that the black woman is God, that when I go to her for help?
I'm just trying to say. I'm just trying to put it out there to the people and to everybody and to ask you the question that what would you do? If you need some help right now. Are we gonna go to polite wife? Or are we gonna, what are we gonna do? But anyways, it's all good.
Yeah. Now I see what you're saying. It depends on what I need help for. I definitely would go to polite wife or polite family if I needed help in something.
All right then.
Yeah, that's a question.
All right, my brother. Bless for that. All right. Let's go to the callers them and get some calls in. Ella Gabar, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So let's go.
You have it. Go ahead.
Okay, we have. Let's see here. We have brother. Actually, no, that's brother. What's that? Yeah, we bring in. I was up in a few minutes, but okay, brother Akarak. Hey. Peace.
Yeah, shalom, brothers and sisters. Hey, listen, the debate is going to be slamming, and we really appreciate all the guests for coming on tonight. And ultimately, it comes down to one thing. Like I did where God was going, and I also see where polite thing is. They dealing with, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, they dealing with a metra, something like that, and it can embody any element that they choose. It's basically, they using the power that they have within them to do whatever. But ultimately, each one of us, we got to make a choice. We got to choose the God or the power that we want to serve. And I just want to give all praise to the Most High. I made my election, and everyone has to make their election. And on that, I'm going to say shalom, have a good debate. Sarnetta, that's slamming what you got going. Keep doing it, get your money, make it live, make it good for the people. But ultimately, I wish we could be doing some other things, but the truth is so important to our people. And unfortunately, it just is what it is. Shalom.
Hey, shalom.
Shalom.
Okay. All right. Okay, Brother Daniel, you're on the air. You're live.
Daniela, what's up, Daniela?
Shalom, can y'all hear me?
I can hear you live. Where you calling from?
It's Donnell, and I'm calling from Missouri. I got a question and a comment. My comment is I don't even really respond for it, but from what I'm hearing from this Kemetic science, I'm gonna use Sarnetta term, this Kemetic science, it almost sounds like Hinduism to me if I was to go into Eastern Asia teachings. And basically it just sounds like an African perspective of Hinduism. And in America, they would almost call it Luciferian or Satanism, to where you can embody anything as a god. You see what I'm saying? Just like the other brother was saying. And my question is, this is my question. In y'all's teachings, in y'all's Kemetic teachings, what does it tell us about conjuration, divination, and have any of y'all participated in Enochian magic?
Okay, thank you, brother, for that question. That's a good question. Brother Polite, will you consider that the Hindu religion is similar to the Egyptian religion or thought process of spirituality? Will you say that there is some similarity there?
I would consider that, as well as all other cultural paradigms, that Kemet has influence in one way, shape, or form or another, because now Valley consciousness has precipitated a number of paradigms that have flourished and have set a model for spirituality. So yes, there will be similarities because Kemetic culture is that influential. So I would say similarities, but definitely still different. There's enough distinction to still have Kemet stand on its own. But undoubtedly, there would be some similarities with Hinduism, just like you will find similarities in the Hebrew Israelite culture with Kemet. Just like you'll find similarities in Sumerian culture. You'll find many similarities. It was only one of the most impressive civilizations that the world has ever been witness to. So, of course, people will be influenced by it.
Okay. And the second part of the question in regard to divination, did you ever tapped into that science or knowledge or mystery system? And are you familiar with that? Practice on that?
Well, let me say this first. When Brother Jonathan came on, he used a key word, which was venerate, right? Which is to regard with the word worship, which in essence means to honor or show a great deal of respect. But then when I say I worship my wife, how come you guys appear not to understand what's taking place? Because you have taken it into a religious context, and we're trying to communicate these words with you in a colloquial sense. When we first started this communication, I was of the impression, because of what I was told, that you simply was putting the Bible to the side and you was allowing us to communicate with you. Mm-hmm. And while we go into our deliberation, there would be understanding. So the best way for us to communicate would be in colloquial terms that would not be misconstrued on account to our religious or theological backgrounds or disposition. So we're using words like worship, not in religious context, but in dictionary definition reference. We're using words like venerate. And when the brother said we can venerate God through the wind that we need or the air that we breathe, or we can venerate God through the sun that we need, we give thanks for the sun. We give thanks for the moon. We give thanks for the stars. We give thanks for everything that exists outside of us, with the understanding that it also exists within us. But unfortunately, since it exists within us, the best way to understand it, to take it or remove it from the realm of speculation, would be to study that which exists outside of us. What part of this sounds demonic? I have no idea what's going on in the religious world. It's almost as though you can't communicate with people outside of that world no more. And this is the problem that people are having with many people who subscribe to religion. Now, we talk about divination. What are we talking about? The practice of seeking knowledge of the future or unknown supernatural means.
Okay.
So, yes, I've indulged in practicing seeking knowledge of the future. It's called investment.
Hold on 2 seconds. I'm sorry, Elder, but we got the mic on red. I'm sorry, Elder. We was hearing you in the background. Go ahead, Brother Polite.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. You were saying.
Divination. I have no problem with it in certain capacity. However, we must understand that some people will do very negative and unbecoming things in the name of divination. You have people in the name of being Hebrew Israelites who say they got sex with 9-year-old children. And I don't think it may be fair to put you all in that category, even though they use the Bible and identify themselves as Hebrew Israelites. I don't think that maybe we should coin everybody as having the same crazy-ass practices. So with that in mind, yes, there's nothing wrong with divination. There's different types and how you try to bring it about. One form of divination is in economics when one intends to engage in the concept of expenditures or simple investments.
Brother Polite. Sorry, not cutting you, but not going into economic. I mean, you know, I think the listeners here. Can you hear me? No. I wanted to just come back in to say, when it talks about spiritual divination, you said that you have partaked in that, right? Am I hearing you correctly?
First of all, the question wasn't about spiritual divination, it was about divination.
No, hold up. I know that, but I'm asking to be specific because I don't want you to go off into
Are you the one that asked the question, or are you speaking for someone else? Because you want to ask the question.
Hold up, my brother. Let's calm down. All right, listen, I'm saying, right, rather than you going into a 5-minute dissertation and there are other questions here for us to take, I'm just want to keep it specific so that we can go into it and then move to the next question. All right. So I'm saying, are you saying that you have dealt with spiritual divination? That's what I'm asking?
Can I ask you a question about spiritual divination, my brother, to get an understanding of what you're trying to ask of us? Because as he defined divination, I think he answered the question well. But let me ask you this. Like about the Bible and Joseph interpreting the dreams of Pharaoh.
Hold on. Is this Jonathan, right?
Yes, sir. How?
Well, Jonathan, listen. Hold up.
Because I don't feel respected on this platform, so you can give it to Jonathan.
All right, my brother. Bless. Shalom. Bless. Okay, listen, Jonathan. The thing is this, right?
Hold
up. Gotcha, real quick. This is Elder Rakashiyah. First of all, I think that all due respect to the brother who just bowed out, it's something seriously emotionally damaged here. Damaging when I check out let me put this. There's some emotional instability going on here. Okay, and it's not good. It's not good.
They trying to tell me how to answer my question. And the question that the guy asked. The guy asked one question. Another guy comes in and tells me the way he's reformatting the question and telling me he don't want to hear me break it down in 5 minutes this way. He want to know about this way. I'm like, that's not what the brother asked me. Did the brother give you access to his question and his consciousness? I know what the brother asked me. And I'm giving the question the respect by entertaining the idea and responding to it. Before I can complete my idea, we don't want to talk about economics. We talking about spiritual divination. But if the brother would just listen to what I was saying, he would understand my perspective of spirituality that we call Kuwina Akwunu, which means what? Spiritual economics. But he won't listen. He's cutting me off to tell me I'm not answering the question. He don't want to hear about economics, and he don't want me going to 5 minutes. So I just said defer the attention to the question to someone else because I feel disrespected, and I don't want to be rude to him on his platform. I said I feel disrespected on his platform. Now, if he was a real man and a real brother, if he heard that I said I felt disrespected on his platform, rather than try to speak condescending to me or demean me, he would address me as a man that acknowledged the fact that I felt disrespected, and rather than lash out at him and disrespect him or curse him out, I just opened up and said I feel disrespected on your platform. So now it turns into all sorts of emotional instability and everything. But if I was emotionally unstable, I would have disrespected him like many of the black men did, or maybe even like my brother did when he cursed him out because he felt disrespected. I didn't do that. So with that, I'm going to fall back.
Okay, brother. It's that we should be able to discourse and without all these emotions getting in the way as men. Let me say this. I would like to interject something.
Let's stay on track, bro. Let's stay on track.
Hold up, brother. Hold up, brother. Let me interject something because we have listeners here, and I have to make sure I make this clear. We, as people, do not subscribe to what any Hebrew Israelite believes. Okay, Hebrew Israelite is not a religion, and I'm going to put this out there. I'm saying, well, let me explain. Okay, this is the bloodline, and because it's the bloodline.
What's the bloodline?
Okay, brother. We don't want to mute your mic, so while I'm speaking, we're going to need you to just be respectful, and then you can say anything you would like.
Oh, you can mute it, because you muted it when you cut me off from answering the question.
Okay, all right. Somebody mute his mic, please, because they're just being disrespectful here, and I'm not disrespecting themselves. Mute their mic so I can preference this for the audience. Okay, Hebrew Israelite is not a religion. So I like to make a disclaimer here. Just because somebody out of their mind want to rape somebody and try to justify it, that they don't speak for Hebrew Israelites. Just like any Jewish person, you get a Jewish person who, because of their bloodline, their Cohens or whatever the case is, if you get one Jewish person who's looking to rape and kill somebody and read a scripture to justify it, it has nothing to do with the source he's reading or the source that he's explaining off his behavior. It's his behavior. So let me make this clear when people say Hebrew Israelites. They're not speaking for every Hebrew Israelite, okay? There's no scripture that says that any man can rape someone, underage or otherwise, and be justified, all right? And I'm saying that because when people come in and make these references, and I've seen this brother probably do it before, he's sadly mistaken if he wants to relate us. Obviously, people don't realize that outside of America, even within the world frame itself, even though we're all from the same bloodline of Hebrews, we're not the same. So let me put that out there, okay, because that's a sideways, that's really a sideways, backdoor way of smearing the whole, saying some Israelites say this. Well, no. Find out what we believe in according to the word. We deal with the word verbatim. And I don't care what fool out there claim that they can rape somebody and be justified. The Bible does not justify it. Okay, so I had to make that disclaimer there because I've heard this on more than one occasion. Okay, now, before we let the rest of the questions in, because we have 20 minutes, I would like to actually read something from the Wisdom of Solomon real quick. Some wisdom. It says, surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of the Most High God, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is. Neither by considering the work did they acknowledge the workmaster. They would rather acknowledge what they see than who created what they see. What they feel, instead of acknowledging who created what they feel. But deemed either fire or wind, like I heard earlier, or the swift air, or the circle of stars, or the violent water, or the lights of heaven, to be the gods which govern the world. With whose beauty, if they be delighted, look them to be gods. Let them know how much better the Most High, the power of them is. For the first author of beauty hath created them. That means there was a creator who created the God that's not honored in this world of idolatry. But if they were astonished at their power and the virtue, let them understand by them and how much mightier he is that made them. For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionably, the maker of them is seen. But yet for this they are the less to be blamed, for they peradventure error. I mean, they're erring from the truth, seeking the Most High and desirous to find him. For being conversant in his works, they search him diligently and believe their sight, because the things are beautiful that are seen. That means if we can acknowledge the beauty of things we think are great, such as God, such as wind, such as our wives, why not honor the one who made the essence of our wives, or what we see or reverence? Howbeit neither are they to be pardoned. That means they will not be excused for this behavior. For if they were able to know so much, all this knowledge people proclaim to have, that they could aim at the world, how did they not sooner find out the Most High? How do they not know the Most High with all the knowledge they have obtained within this earth? But the 10th verse tells us in wisdom of Solomon, but miserable are they, and in dead things is their hope, who call them gods, which are the works of men's hands, gold and silver, to show art in, and a resemblance of beast, or a stone good for nothing, the work of an ancient hand. Now a carpenter that felleth timber, after he have sawn down a tree, meet for the purpose, and taken off all the bark skillfully round about, and have wrought it handsomely, and made a vessel thereof, fit for the service of man's life. It's showing you how a carpenter can cut down the tree, which means he's mightier than the tree. He can shape the wood to whatever he would like, which means the man that shapes the wood is mightier than the idol he created. But he would relegate himself to bow into the image that he shapes, but not reverence the God whose essence grew the tree. And taking the very refuge among which served to no use, being a crooked piece of wood, full of knots, have carved it diligently when he had nothing else to do, and formed it by the skill of his understanding, and fashioned it to the image of a man, like the images we see even in ancient Kemet. Or made it like some vile beast, like you have part man, part jackal, that a man shaped, laying it over with vermilion and with paint, coloring it red and covering every spot thereon. And when he had made a convenient room for it, that means he makes a shrine for this image he created, set it in a wall and made it fast with iron. For he provided for it light, that it might not fall, knowing that it was unable to help itself. He provided for it that it might not fall. That means he fashioned it in a way in which it would stand forth, because it's no God at all. Then maketh he prayers for his goods, for his wife and children, and is not ashamed to speak that which hath no life. That means people have went to these idols in reverence and respect and bowed to them for understanding, when they are less than man, because man shaped idols. Without man, there would be no idols. For health he calleth upon that which is weak. For life he prayeth to that which is dead. For aid humbly beseecheth that which have least means to help. And for a good journey he asketh of that which cannot set a foot forward. And for gaining and getting, and for good success of his hand, asketh ability to do of him, that is most unable to do anything. That's the idols. That's what man has been relegated to reverencing outside of the Creator, who made everything, including all they reverence. So I just wanted to drive that point home from a wisdom standpoint.
Amen.
Absolutely. I think brothers Polite and Netta, they bowed down, so we're going to wish them Godspeed and also see them on Sunday. So stay tuned. It's going to.
Elders.
Elders. I kind of thought that it would go that way, because scriptures to them is like crosses to vampires. But all in all, I wanted to put this out there also, that it's a blessing being able to sit back and allow them to speak because I think they do more damage to themselves than anyone that's looking to show them up or to make them trip over themselves. I mean, I want to put this out there real quick and why we preference these questions for them. How can we come together as a people if first we can't agree on some key principles, some key understandings that can actually join us together as one? And they're very elementary questions, to tell you the truth, that we can answer easily. Okay? First question, we've seen the rise in civilization of Egypt, Greek, Rome, leading to America. Outside of our opinion, what comes next? What source do they have that foretold our plight and what we would go through? We have the answer to that. But yet that wasn't answered by any of them. Who are the other nations outside of black people, and what are their origin? How did they get here, and how did they spread to their respective areas? That wasn't answered. But how can we be the authority to bring the earth together if we don't understand how the earth came to be? We got no answer. So I just said, okay, that's inconclusive. Let's leave that alone. Who are we as a people that came out of off the slave ships? What is our primal origin? Another answer that was inconclusive. So if we don't know who we are, what are we arguing? What can we debate? If a man can come out of his mind and think anything he wants to be true, then what true facts are we debating? If anything comes out of his mouth, is it true? How can we come together if we can't agree on who we are? Everything is so ambiguous. And the number one question, who are the gods they worship? And what is the fundamental core foundation or source on how to worship that God? Another inconclusive answer. Why? And then it wasn't inconclusive. It came out with our mouths shut that they would have faith enough to believe on a mythological God that acknowledged that the God of the Hebrews is the God of all gods. It takes faith to believe either way. Why choose that way? See, and these questions was preference not to trap them, it's to make them think. So it's good that they felt a certain type of way, to make them feel upset, because you know why? They felt upset. They knew they couldn't answer the question, and they knew exactly why we preference the questions this way. Why? Because their souls is not their ego is on trial. Their soul is on trial. And someone needs to make them think outside of that. They can sit around in these corners and on their sofas and sit there and kick knowledge to themselves until Christ comes. And it means nothing, because the only people that think this is deep is those that are in their circle. Someone needs to jog them and have them think outside, because no one amongst them, they won't correct themselves within themselves. Someone needs to actually preference questions that lead to an apex, that leads to us actually coming to a conclusion that, you know what, maybe there is some key information we can draw from in the Bible. At least it's a source of where we come from in the earth and where we're going. At least it's a Bible of prophecies that actually said exactly what would happen to us. And we are living prophecies because those prophecies has come to pass. So that's why these questions were preferenced. Okay? And guess what? They were in good earnest, because I expected someone to come with something, with some source, and say, well, okay, I have this source. I expected that. But am I surprised that there was no answers to this? No. So, yes. And if any of you listen to this back, not once did we do anything to infuriate or to, we never called anyone out of their name. This was respectful from beginning to end for them. And they only got offended based on their own lack of understanding. That's why they were offended.
Well, I think what it is, I think this is, and the premise of this debate is going to be these type of questions are going to be asked. and I think they're in a very uncomfortable position because they usually are the ones asking the question, and I think they're not in the comfort zone. They're in the comfort zone doing presentation and having people saying, you came up with something so great, not questioning their authority of their wisdom. But when you have people actually questioning where they got their source, there is no source. It's philosophy.
What?
It's just, yeah, go ahead, Brother.
Sorry, my mic's open. Sorry, excuse me, Lugabar. Sorry, go ahead and speak.
No, and also let me also bring in my protege over here, Brother Ironwood, who's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Brother Ironwood, can you hear me?
Hey, Shalom, Elder, I'm here.
Shalom, brother. How we doing? How's everything?
All right, everything is blessed. I'm humbled and honored to be here amongst Elder Ricard and Elder Gaja. It's a true honor and pleasure.
Okay, so
you're doing some great work, brother. You're doing some great work. All praise be to the Most High, brother. Never stop. You win it.
Bless up.
Yeah, this brother is definitely a brother who's really shining, and there's a lot of the backbone. Almost every other day, this brother's calling me, Elder, I just found something new. Take this out. This brother, is that young spirit, brother, and he's always humble. So I'm very pleased to be part of this brother's growth and see this brother growing into the truth and becoming a man. So we're gonna rock and roll, man. This Sunday we're gonna bring some heavy stuff. We're gonna bring some heavy stuff.
Let me say this. Okay, go ahead, brother. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that it's an opportunity, to actually speak to you, Elder Ricard, and I wanted to, thank you. And of course, I give all praise to the Most High, but you were the primary vessel that was used to awaken myself and my brother. And, I'm very thankful for that. And I know you met him over in London, and it meant the world to him. It meant the world to him to be able to, greet you and that you blessed him and everything like that. So I'm very humbled, and I just want to give, all thanks, and I'm very grateful. And, Elder Gaja, I'm grateful to you as well for hosting my brother out there. And, I'm really thankful. I really feel like I'm amongst family, and I want to give all praise to the Most High for waking me up and allowing me to be a vessel and serve him and be a vessel to, deliver the gospel and be a light to the world. So, and I'm, of course, abundantly grateful to Elder Bar as well, because he's really taken me under his wing, and, I'm very thankful, and I'm a loyal servant. So just want to say all praise to the Most High. I just wanted to say that.
Well, brother, I'm going to tell you, brother, the greatest leaders on earth are those soldiers, those who are humble and contrite in spirit, brother. And I can feel it right over here, brother, that the Most High is going to do some great things with you, brother, and I'll support you to the end. So, and I'm glad that you are amongst brethren, that you are amongst elders. That we're going to finish this together, man. And I can't wait to break bread like I was able to sit with your brother. I can't wait to meet you. That's a good brother too. I wanted to put out there real quick a point real quick that that Elder Gabar was mentioning about some of these things will be addressed. And I wanted to say, well, that's good, because this gives them an opportunity to actually go back and get it together. You understand? And I'm you understand? And we was respectful with it all the way through. It seemed like they was trying to draw us into something originally with the profanity and all that. But all in all, I want to thank the brothers for holding their ground, keeping their spirit intact, and not going beside themselves, because they was trying to draw us into a confrontation. And that's because they couldn't do it the other way, through arguing. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I noticed one thing here that really works in the spirit is that really a lot of these other religions out there, including them, they're used to attacking the Bible and attacking Christians who really deal with faith but don't have knowledge of history. And through that, they win many arguments. And that's why if you sit there and let them talk amongst learned men,
they'll start to understand what they're really dealing with. You know, and that's why I didn't interrupt them. I just let them talk. I'm like, go ahead, because it didn't take too long to realize that the majority of the answers, they can't. I mean, I hate to be so blunt, but a lot of them are coming up empty with these answers. You understand? And it's because we allowed them to speak, we allowed them to bring forth what was in their heart, and we prefaced the questions in a way in which, you know, gave them full autonomy. 10, 15 minutes per answer. and you notice I didn't interrupt them, because I was thinking, I'm like, you know, the best way to deal with this is to let them talk. See, but the reason why the majority of our people get thrown off with them, with the diversion, is because they don't know the key points of reference. They can't deposit the key point of reference that everyone should be focusing on. When I say that, if our people knew the right questions to ask and know exactly what the fundamental foundations that we should know are, if they understood this, you can easily pick through them and say, well, okay, I can't deal with this because there's no answers, just a bunch of people talking. And any man that tells me that they can worship anything they feel is relevant for them, that's enough for someone who believes in the Most High to say, okay, right there, that's foolishness. That's straight foolishness right there. See, but they're so used to finding points of debate and trying to pick the Bible apart. So I kind of figured that I would walk in their realm. Let's go in their realm. Let's move the Bible to the side and let's just talk now. Mm-hmm. Since you want to use the Bible as a point of argument to say that, okay, you have some key points. Let me come into your realm and let's just talk. Let's just speak with understanding. Mm-hmm. Where did we come from and where are we going? Who are we? Yes, sir.
I don't know if you noticed, Elder, right? But these brothers kept going to the Bible.
They kept going to the Bible.
They kept going to they kept going to the Bible. When Shaka came in, yes. Shaka was going to the Bible, and we're like, yo, well, we're putting the Bible out of the conversation right now. Why is it that you're going into the Bible? And this is what was frustrating them so much, is that the comfort zone of what they used to be in tearing the Bible apart and tearing apart people who have faith, right? And I heard it tonight on this show. That brother that came in called Jonathan, he has faith, okay? In his mythology, he has faith in it. All right, because he said it more than 3 times. It's mythology.
Exactly.
And he said, and when the question came to him, and he thought about it, the only thing he could go back to and say, well, we can say the same thing about the Bible, and who is Allah, and who is Yahweh, when it came back to him, because it started to think.
You know what? He knew it. He knew it.
Yes.
Okay, can I say something really quick? Sorry to cut you off, Alcatraz. One, I think we have to capitalize on these moments too. And one of the things to capitalize on is the fact I keep hearing in these pre-debates about referring to the white man or the white man's science or the white man's book. One of the key points from this discussion tonight on this radio is Jonathan and his mythological gods.
From the Nephos, which is during the Greeks' time.
During the Greeks' time. So that is gold and needs to be capitalized on.
Exactly, because we're talking about the white man's history and how they lied and distorted things, and all the references they're going to comes from the white man.
Also that French book that Shaka brought out at the beginning. What was that about?
And I know about that book. You're talking about the civilization of Canada.
I got it right here.
It's called barbarism.
Yeah, civilization.
Exactly. Civilization or barbarism, which is a pretty good book. But a lot of that information is from white people.
It's a black guy did it, but his
it's white people. And not to say that white people can't bring correct sources, they can. But don't be attacking them and claiming that they're doing this to us and that, and then then you use their terms like Homo sapien, Homo erectus, Pro-Magra man. Everything you're saying comes from their philosophical understanding of how we came to be. So I hope that they can see that it's plain hypocrisy to say to make people feel bad about having faith in something like the Bible when they must have that same faith with the information that they have researched. They must have that same faith to believe in that because it's not substantiated.
And also, this is Gabar in New York. And also, let me say this: we are getting some momentum. There's when I did see the Imam Bashir, there were certain people that came into the debate, and it is all the Most High because there was a brother that was about to go to the Comforter church. He was walking, and he run into Brother Hashar, from one of the brothers from the other camps. And it was the same night that we had a debate with Imam Bashir, Islam versus the Bible. And the brother, they saluted each other and said, where we going? They started talking. He said, well, I'm going over here to see, the Israelites over here, 1941. He said, nah, you got to come over here with me. You got to come over with, GOCC. We're actually having a debate tonight. So he came by and actually, he's now, the brother met us, and he's a good brother. He used to be with, I think, a 7-day Advent, and then he's with the church now. So we do getting some souls. We are getting some momentum. People are now sticking their head into the churches, people that have not come before or different demographic. And I think you hit it right in those, Elder. I think just exposing exactly what they're dealing with, and asking key questions, not just let them talk, but asking key questions. People are going to realize that they're dealing with the same faith-based system that the Hebrews are dealing with. What's the difference? What's the difference if you got to believe in your gods and their principle and things of that nature? And a lot of these situations that Brother Polite, with all the respect, he was wrong. Egypt, they had these gods and things of that nature, but you have to worship a God depending what region you live in. It wasn't, you didn't have the choice. You could move and worship another God, but they were very territorial. So I think these guys create an illusion of Egypt. They just came up, they just make up stuff as they go along to create this utopia of Egypt. But
romanticize it.
They romanticize Egypt. Egypt, and what I've been speaking to Brother Sanini and the other brothers from the other camps. We've been building, and the stuff that these brothers are going to come out with, these brothers never dealt with before, because these guys, they teach their version of Egypt. They don't teach the real Egypt.
But
and if you really, go ahead, brother.
As well, Elder, right? Sorry, not cutting you, but I think, I honestly believe, right, that just even listening to this, and Elder Rakar clocked it instantly, is that when these brothers can't get their own way, right, they go in emotional tantrum, all right, and it's like Elder clocked it on, right as it was coming out. It's like when you look at even how they answer a question, right, it's like they're so skilled at going around what has actually been asked. You with me? It's like yo, okay. Even at the beginning, when Shaka couldn't answer the question, he got frustrated. You with me? And started to go off into some other things. So it's like on the debate, when information is being presented to these brothers, somebody needs to be there to go, listen, we need to stay here. You with me? Yeah. Because you will
got to be a level of accountability. There got to be points that must be proven, opposed to just talking. This point, we're arguing this point right here that must be proven, and then say why the point should be proven, so that the people, so there's some edification. If you're not edifying, it's barbaric.
It's philosophy. It's Hellenistic philosophy.
These brothers get upset if they're held to the task of actually proving what they say,
right,
or proving what they believe, and that's what this is all about.
Right.
You can't get mad if I'm asking you a question to prove your validity. What makes you valid? You can't get upset especially if you're going to tear down the only Bible, the book that can explain this. If we can't use the Bible for validity, you got to bring me something substantial. Where's your credentials? Where's your facts? So it was, but it was good the way it was handled because it was in the spirit of the Most High, and I'm going to tell you, it was in the spirit of allowing them to speak. That's the spirit. But you need someone, and Gabar, you got to be the one to do it. You got to put out there what people should be listening for. Because they're just listening.
Right.
You might not have the opportunity based on how they like to do it, but within your speech, you should say, this is what you all should be looking for. And if you don't get these answers, who can answer these questions here? These are the answers we need answered as a people.
Right. Well,
you understand?
Yeah. Well, I'm coming in. Actually, we are coming up first. Me and Brother Anwar, we're coming up first. And our plight is that we got Shaka's utmost book, Codex, the Game Over, which he made claims that the Bible plagiarized from these Kemetic wars, and we're going to be destroying that book. That's our job. Then he's going to rebuttal with it. We're going to do closing, and then the other Hebrews are going to be since Kemet's on trial. So basically, he's going to set up like a trial situation. They're going to ask these type of questions, and a lot of it is the morality of Egypt. I think that's one of the things on the table. I think Polite wanted to actually be in the table that was there homosexuality in Egypt, because he's claiming there was not homosexuality in Egypt. So I think they're going to be dealing with that. So they're going to be dealing, I think, with that. I think the king list. I think the king's list, because there's like 3 or 4 different kings lists, and they all don't agree. In particular, with Manito, don't agree with even the nation of tables within that council with the brother for Amaral squad. Although within different times of Egypt, there was different chronology of kings in history, and they don't always agree. So things like that. So I hope they do well. But I think these guys, they're gonna go down with ship. I think it's hopefully it's one man, one woman who may be in the audience, who may be dealing with the Kemetic knowledge, and maybe say, you know what, I've been standing on philosophy. I've been standing on the bottomless pit.
But this is what we're going to need for the plagiarization. We're going to need who did the plagiarizing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you can't just say because I had some guys say that because this person said this about the wind, and Job said this in Job, that it was plagiarized.
we couldn't say when.
If you're going to claim that someone did something wrong, criminal, then we must first find out who did it and have a date to substantiate that plagiarization. You can't say because something is similar, it was taken from you.
Right.
There's nothing common to man. Man been doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
From the beginning, there's nothing common to man, so they can't use that. You're going to need them to say, okay, who plagiarized it? All right.
Exactly.
But all right, real quick, because I know we're running out of time, and it's early in the morning here, and I said I was going to only be here 2 hours. Tell you the truth. Is there anything else y'all want to say real quick before we round it up?
Yeah, we're done, Elder. Yeah, we pretty much we're just getting ready. I actually got to step out. I got to pick up some more material. So we're getting ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we probably have a more.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing, Elder. I'm sorry. Just one more thing I forgot to just mention. We're also having after the debate, because the debate starts at 2. It's going to be open at 9 p.m. Sunday. After the debate, we're actually going to be having a after party unity party, Israelite unity party, starting at 9:30 at the New Harlem Basin. the New Harlem Basin at 2070 Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. We're going to be handing out information within the debates. Those that want to, if you only Hebrew Israelites, we're going to come together. All the camps, we're going to sit down, break bread, and we're just going to build and celebrate. And hopefully we could start getting some common ground. We're getting some common ground, Elder. We've been discussing about the 400 years of Egypt, and we brought out in regards of that. Now all Israelites agreed in regards. I actually spoke to Brother Divine Prospect, also Brother Nasi, that the breakdown in the Septuagint is actually more accurate. So we're getting some leeway. We finally, we're talking, and hopefully we can come up with at least, with a national code of ethics in Hebrew. We may not all agree on the same doctrine, but at least we could present the name YASHAYA with some honor and respect that people could respect and reveal. That would be a victory.
Well, that'd be good, like an alliance, a Hebrew alliance. That'd be nice.
Yeah, just when we need to come together, we'll come together. When we need to go back to what we do, we all respect each other. Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. I'll tell you what, we got about 5 more minutes, so we can take calls of somebody, whoever we have for 5 minutes. We'll take the calls and we'll wish you all Godspeed and the safe way back. And I thank God, and I thank Azariah. We're here again, and hopefully we're here for the long haul.
Okay. So let's take 3 phone calls, and we're done. Let's go into Brother Aran. Brother Aran, you're on the air. 716.
Yes.
Hi, Ryan from Buffalo, New York. How you doing, Elder?
Hey, shalom, brother. How we doing?
What's good? How you doing, Elder Gaza and Elder Ricard?
Shalom.
Shalom. I want to set. Well, I had a question for the brother, but we left as soon as the scriptures came out. I just want to say, man, it's just an honor to be on the phone and actually interact with you, Elder Ricard. And blessings to all y'all from Yashara.
Thank you for the support. Keep listening on. We're back, so keep listening. Okay, Sister Lucy from 717. Sister Lucy, you're on the air. Hello, Sister Lucy, you're on the air. 717.
Shalom.
Shalom, sister. How are we doing? Comment or question? You're on the air.
I actually had a question earlier about the debate on Sunday. I bought the ticket on the Town TV News, but it didn't show me anything. So do I just have to log on there on the debate to see it?
Yeah. Are you seeing it live? Or are you going to see it? I mean, are you going to come physically? Or are you going to see it on the television?
I was going to see it on the television.
Yeah. Once you pay, as Annetta told me that it should automatically come on if you prepaid.
Okay, so I just log back on that website to see it.
Yes. So you log back on that website. You go to Town Zone TV, go to, I believe, Kemet on Trial, or Google that on the search engine, and the box will come up.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sister. Okay, Brother Adazaya, select me if I mispronounce your name, 913, you're on the air. I'm sorry, 513. You're on the air.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's all I said. Yeah.
Hey, shalom, brother. How we doing? Comment or question? You're on the air.
Yeah, so it was a question, but like my brother just said that they hung up when the scriptures came out, so it killed that. But I'll just comment real quick and let you brothers go. I know you guys, I got to get out of there. Shout out to the brother that just called Brother Ariah. He's a part of our Gathering in Christ body. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, but a lot of us are getting together for Purim, and it's one of the things. How you doing, Elder Ricard? This is Nelson. I'm good, brother. I'm good. I just want to say real quick, I wasn't really sure about how I felt about watching the debates because the first time I saw that Brother Shaka was on there, and he had me so frustrated I didn't get no edification at all. I said I'll never watch another one. And then I seen the one that Christ down the cross, when Elder Gabar did. And what I found out is that at the end, just like right here, right now, the truth will always speak for itself, and it will always stand. Because like the brother that called in, and he hit the nail right on the head when he said basically it's modern-day Satanism with an African twist. And these brothers, they just have to, I want to say that they should be really careful to people that call in and listen to this stuff this programming and don't have no foundation at all, it can be very damaging because it sounds like some children over here just being hard-headed and just don't want to hear no truth. And when they didn't answer, like you said, not one question. All that explanation, I'm at work trying to get it in, go through all that, and they didn't answer not one question you presented, Elder Ricard. And they kept trying to spin it as if you were trying to be slick about something or not keeping it real. You was just doing it. I understand what you was doing for the people listening. You have to remember the people listening, which is they really don't care when they get to cursing. And they, like you said, get all emotional and then they feelings about it. When this is serious here, especially for people, like I say, out here listening. That's something to pay attention to. But you guys, I'm happy I found this truth. The Father, all praise to the Father that things are working out. I have a gigantic group of brothers and sisters that's very supportive and that hold me down. And looking at them videos, Elder Ricard on YouTube, brought me home to the Father. And I just, once again, I appreciate your courage, brother, for doing it. Because I wouldn't even be right here if I never would have did that. I was in Egyptology too, but when I heard the truth, I knew the truth. And it stood for me.
Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. That's great, brother.
Brother, keep up the good work. Thank you, brother. And that's our cue. Elder Ricard, any last words?
We said we're going to take 3 calls. Let's take 2 more.
Let's take 2 more? Okay.
Yeah.
We have Brother Gerald. Brother Gerald, 931. I'm sorry, 913. Salakia. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, this is Jewel from Kansas. I actually had a question for the brothers, but, they got off and stuff. I just want to praise the Most High for putting the spirit on Elder Ricard for his lessons on YouTube. Brought me to the truth a year ago in October, and that's about it.
All right, thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. All praise be to the Most High. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting. Absolutely. We have Brother Brother Brighton, 702. You on the air?
Thank you. I just want to say shalom, and everyone just keep up the good word.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All praise be to the Most High. And I would like to say real quick, I want to thank all the brothers and sisters in support, but chiefly I wish I can salute them all like Paul did in the epistles, but I would like to say salute and a hearty shalom. And I can't thank brothers enough, like Elder Gabar, Elder Dell, Ramar, Elder Yarak, Ariah, on and on and on, all throughout the earth. I don't have enough time to mention everyone, but just all the elders and deacons that have been holding it down. My brothers, Dante over in Kansas City, Shekum Ya'ala, and the brothers that's holding it down over there, Lamada Hob in Chicago, on and on and on. Just so many brothers and sisters. And I just want to thank you all and to know that you all are in my prayers. And even though we're not all together, in spirit we are together. And it's time to take this to the next level. I've been thinking about it, that we're going to start bringing forth that Holy Spirit, bringing forth that unity, and so that Spirit can come down on high and unify us in this last time. That's the next phase that we're going to go into, is the spiritual aspect of this, beyond the knowledge. And I just want to thank you all, and I want to say we just need to put out a prayer for my brother Nathaniel Allah, Big Nate, and his family, who lost a son not too long ago, a baby son, and I want to put a prayer out. It was kind of tough dealing with it, but all in all, it's the Most High that brings forth that issue, that calls souls home, and we have to really pray on it and say, you know what, let's do what we can to meet the young man when it's time. The young man was only 6 months, but I said on the show that I would actually put it out there that we put out prayers for their family, because it's tough losing a son, and it's part of the family. So I don't want to put that out there, and I want to say thank you all, and let's stay in the spirit, and let's pray for our family. You understand? Let's pray for our family as the time draw near. And I want to say in the spirit, Gabar, we're going to be with you in prayer, brother, and I would love for you in the spirit just go in there with a humble heart to the Most High and just knock it out of the park for all of us. You understand?
Amen.
And it's good to see from where we all come from to where we are now. The truth has just progressed, and I'm looking at. I'm on the phone with GOCC, elder now, the brother that didn't believe the Bible, that was just surrounded with so-called quote-unquote black consciousness. And that's how black it was. Christ says, if your light be darkness, how great is that darkness? So if your black consciousness be darkness, how dark is your consciousness? So I'm looking at I'm looking at GOCC, who came from that school of thought and was surrounded by them, and I come up in the room with a Mitri on, and I'm looked at as the devil from all my brothers because I came in with the Bible. But anyway, stand strong, man. I just beseech you, brothers, to keep it up. Even the young brother that's helping you with the backbone over there, Gabar, I can hear it. He's going to be great. I mean, it's on and on and on. Shapat next to me. I remember dealing with him over Skype, and him all the way in England listening and just being fervent every week. So it's just this truth is humbling. I also want to put out there that we got a magazine coming. We got what you would call it Israelite magazine, an online magazine coming that's going to be super, super bad. And it's going to have truth, food, everything right in a magazine. You understand? So, and we have new articles on the website. And we got the Hebrew calendar. I mean, the calendar we have, which is real nice, to actually give you the Hebrew time. So, and I just want to say a hearty thanks to everyone. I don't know. I don't want to leave anyone out. Jed, Dawada, Jay, the twins, everyone. I can't wait for us to all come together. And maybe Josh. Man, I'm so, I'm so happy to be back on the radio, man, and I'm so humbled that this work has spread well beyond us. It's more than I've ever imagined. Mm-hmm. And I just can't wait till we all sitting down breaking bread together, and it's going to be deep. And I think, matter of fact, I know that when we're together, it's probably going to be near that wilderness time, and that's when the Holy Spirit going to come down on us all at once together, and it's going to be super bad. I know it. I can feel it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I want to say thank you all. Thank you all of you. You my brothers, and you sisters out there. You my sisters. Let's tear this satanic kingdom down one brick at a time. And the first brick, let's start with pulling out of his kingdom, the brick of the black consciousness movement. So, with that, I'm going to say shalom. We love you, and Kwam YASHAYA.
Kwam YASHAYA. Good night.
You know what time it is. The hour of prayer. I pray that I stay on the straight and narrow, and someday my people wake up and pray for Pharaoh. Right now we in a state of peril, but I'm praying for rest up in the wilderness and change to a greater peril. I pray for light in the hour of darkness. I'm praying for the day Satan's power is off us, and we increase like sawdust when the carpenter does that is sharp and the tree is sawed up. Pray when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you help me win every battle that's left. For if I go to the right or move slow to the fight, you remind me what the life of a soldier's like. I pray for my kinfolk and my friends for an awakening. It's been kinda lonely since I've been woke, with different strokes for different folks. I just pray your words stay in my heart, cause that's what's giving hope.
This is a prayer to the Most High. AHAYAH. Talk to the Father when I fall on my knees. Pray to the Most High with all your might. This is a prayer to the Most High. AHAYAH. Talk to the Father when I fall on my knees. on my knees.
Pray to the Most High with all your might.
I pray to the Most High to keep me humble, walking a straight, narrow path so I don't stumble. Because a lot of folk think my walk is a joke, when they're the ones walking down the slippery slope. I pray I reach them, sow a seed so you can watch them nourish. Holy Spirit teach them truth and deed so you can watch them flourish. I pray my prayer reaches you with a clean heart, a right mind, no need to repent from a clean start. Most High, I pray I'm perfect in your eyes, because perfection in man's eyes is dressed with lies. And who can truly understand unless you show it to him? Receive the land of milk and honey unless you flow it to him. So I pray that you continue to give me understanding from your word, and let your truth fly like a bird and spread its wings to the four corners, to prepare our spirits to be transformed like transformers.
This is a prayer to the Most High.
AHAYAH, talk to the Father when I fall on my knees.
Pray to the Most High with all your might.
This is a prayer
to the Most High.
AHAYAH, talk to the Father when I fall on my knees.
Pray to the Most High with all your might.
Yo, Ken, I know a lot of cats that pray every day. They ask material things like that's okay. Lawlessness don't bring flawlessness, so I manage praying and thanking God for their pork chop sandwich.
Yeah, but they ain't gonna get nothing for disobedience. Praying for the kingdom, but they don't know what the meaning is. They think it's already here, but Christ is bringing it. Hype for eternal life, but only the righteous seeing it.
Proverbs 28 and 9, they don't believe in it.
Wasted time and ashy knees is all they leaving with.
And an emotional high with no answer.
Don't they know why?
Why their prayers reach the sky on high and explode like the 4th of July?
Mad cause they couldn't get what they wanted to buy.
So if they really want to receive material gain,
fall on their knees and pray to Satan in Jesus' name.
Calling on a false God with no truth.
Pray that the Most High would find it in his heart to give you grace.
Call his name AHAYAH. Call his name AHAYAH. Call his name
YASHAYA, the son of AHAYAH.
This is a prayer
to the Most High.
AHAYAH, talk to the Father when I fall on my knees.
Pray to the Most High with all your might.
This is a prayer
to the Most High.
AHAYAH, talk to the Father when I fall on my knees.
Pray to the Most High with all your might.